And it is after hours. I hope everybody is healthy out there. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. We almost had some echoing going on there, but I took care of it right away. And we have the great Jared George with us, Mr. George, the Great Order. And he's a little bit under the weather. He'll tell you about that in a moment. Let me see how you all are doing out there. I see Heidi is here. Yes. Great to see you, dear lady. Misty. Wonderful to see you. Euphemia as well. White Healing. Raymond is here. Great to see you, brother. Nullis is here. Hello to you. Zero Talon. I am back in the States. And, there is Roy. Great to see you. What do you all want to talk about? Talk about the conference. Talk about the little plague thing going on. HB is here. Great to see you, brother. Talk about William Runner. There's Fernol. Great to see you. Cornelius, Lantis, Timmy, conference. Timmy says, talk about the conference. Eternalism says, no echoing, please. Yes, we'll stay as far away from echoing as possible. But we'll talk about the conference. We'll talk about the news, whatever the news you want to talk about, specific items. And now we'll talk to Mr. George. He is a bit under the weather, but it's not Corona.
Yes. We wanted to make sure. Jason and I were discussing it earlier today, and I didn't want anyone to worry. So I actually woke up and had a terrible digestive episode a couple times, and it knocked me out. And I've been resting the whole day. Fortunately, I was able to change my schedule around, but I didn't want people to be concerned, see that I haven't been around. Obviously, coronavirus does not have any digestive symptoms. And I also spoke to someone in my town who told me that there was a stomach bug, in fact, going around. It hits quickly, but the good news is that it leaves quickly as well. So that seems to be the case. I'm just a little drained, and I've been napping, so that's why my voice sounds a little bit like this. But no one should worry about anything. I wanted to. Obviously, I'm an avatar. I'm resting, but I wanted to be here with Jason so that we can check in with all of you, and maybe I can hear some things about the conference. Jason and I will, of course, catch up on it ourselves as well. But yes, there is a stomach bug by me, and two people I know had it, so that definitely bodes for it being this stomach bug. Obviously, there are other. The Corona Chan has the headline right now. It's the headlining act. Obviously, other strains of nasty stuff still continue. So I just got hit with something, but like I said, fortunately, it's brief. Nothing too bad. And I'd still wanted to be here with you all. So it'll put me in good spirits.
Yes, indeed. So that's the best medicine for any malady, including Corona Chan, that continues to sweep our lands, this plague. Let's see. Entropy. Ray says entropy is not up. Is it not up? It appears on my end to be up and running. Take a little look and see. If there is an issue, we'll try to address it. But thank you very much for that. And so happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. We actually have a poem that I'm not going to be reading today, but I am going to read into a video in the near future if time permits and I don't get taken out by Corona Chan. It's a Yeats poem. It's Easter or something. I can't find it just right now. Easter 1916, something like this. And but I will be trying to do that very soon. Ray says it's working now. Good deal.
So this is not totally St. Patrick's Day, although, well, no, Ireland has their versions of this too. It's all regional. I am curious to hear, we'll start light, curious to hear about black pudding. I noticed that full English breakfast. When I've been in England, I've had some great pub food. I think English food gets a bad rap, but I don't think, Jason, that I had the full English breakfast. But I saw with the different sausages and bacon and an egg and even beans, how protein heavy it is. And I like my protein. I think that's kind of where my body naturally I need a high protein diet. So it looked delicious. And I know Mark was keen to have you try this black pudding, which for those of us in the States is actually a sausage. There's an old etymology where certain quote unquote puddings are actually sausages. and it's a mixture of some pork and oats. That's interesting to me because the oats kind of give it a little more texture, and some herbs and spices. Again, they do it regionally. We're not going to say exactly where you were in England, of course, but how was that black pudding? Tell me about that for a second.
Well,
We'll start off light.
It start off light. Pig's blood and oats.
Hey, as long as it's not bat.
And what's the HB sauce that goes on top, and it's delectable.
What is the HB sauce?
It's just a brown. I think they also call it the brown sauce. I think the HB is a brand, and let's see, maybe some of our brethren and sisters can fill us in on exactly what the HB sauce is. Eternalism says,
but it's a brown sauce.
Yes.
That goes well on meats. Sounds good.
Mark says, fantastic speech at a PA conference. Thank you so much.
Oh, yes. One thing I did today was watch that in bed. And folks, I don't have to tell you this, but there's no reason not to say it. Again, so proud, so grateful to have Jason as a friend, as a colleague, as someone that we are adventuring together, walking this path together. If anyone hasn't listened to the audio that was posted, of course, please go do it and share it after we're on here. We'll be putting on the Tap TV site shortly as well, of course. But the range of emotions, the pacing, the command, the language, Jason's oratory skills, really never saying like or and the rousing message about being a community that was so apropos of what's going on, what Mark and Laura and all of the others in the UK are building. And this really being a tangible next step to all of what's been going on with the online community and the bridge between that and what we've been working towards over the last few years. Of course, Mark started a little before us with his show, and then we joined forces, and it just had my heart singing as well. Jason, that was some of the best medicine for me today as well. I can't commend you enough on that speech.
I really appreciate you saying that. It was easy for me since I was easy in some ways and hard in others. Easy in that since I got to go at the end of everybody else, I got to be energized by everybody else's speeches.
I'm sure, yeah.
And just starting with Mark right at the beginning, he opened the conference. He was emceeing it. He opened it, and then he went right into his speech as the first speaker, and it was exhilarating. And it was just one to the next. It was like the momentum just kept building for me, and all I had to do was just keep moving it along. And so that was really magnificent. I think who all was there was with us right now. Was Cornelius there? I thought I saw him. He was there. People talking about the brown sauce. You could put it on anything, but it was delicious. I did the bread. I need to get into this habit, especially when I do something like this. If the meal comes out and I find it, just visually pleasing, I should take a photo of it so that I have it. I can share with everybody. In fact,
you'll be in dangerous territory of being like an Instagram model, though.
Oh, well, I'll have to get some low-cut shirts for some cleavage then. Start doing me some reps like Golden One so I can get some man tits.
We'll be funding our own conferences in no time then.
Right, that's right. Then the money would roll in. But no, it was marvelous. I mean, these were just, none of these places were 5-star restaurants or any by far, but they were the real man's and the real woman's kind of places where you can get the genuine deal, that the genuine artifact of what the breakfast is for a real. And when I say real, I mean an actual Englishman, an actual Irishman, an actual none of these paper versions of our peoples or our countries, rather, citizens. And so they were just delectable. I mean, when I first arrived there, and I of course told the joke that I was going to bring my hazmat suit and tell Mark that I was in yellow, and he wouldn't have any hard time finding me.
I'll be the guy in yellow at the airport.
Yeah, I'm in yellow, so just look for me. But no, I hadn't eaten, I hadn't slept. He picked me up, and we we raced around the countryside to where we went, no one shall know. And you finally got to this wonderful little place, and it was just marvelous. I did take one photo. I was busy just listening to Mark and talk about everything that's going on. I mean, this man, his ability to put together, and I have to tell you, Jared, and everybody listening, of course, those who are there, unless you have a frame of reference, other conferences, you won't really know. But this was a stellar conference, and the fact that Mark and Laura, put this together, and Mark's mind, he's able to hold all of these different bits of information of this has to be done, and this person's conversation I'm having with that person and this person, and he was running through all of that. I'm sure he was wondering if I was mute or something. And anyhow, though, didn't realize, he finally said, he's saying, I've been fasting all morning, so I haven't eaten yet, and it's getting late in the afternoon. And then I suddenly realized, wow, I'm getting pretty dizzy, and I haven't eaten, I haven't slept. So we went into this little place in this little town, remain unnamed. And I think he thought he was going to get me. I think, the black pudding, I actually had that before and actually heard what it was before. And so he says, we look at the menus, and I said, well, this full English breakfast looks good. I think I could have that all day long. Actually, it's so delectable. And yeah. The only thing I might do a little different as an American is narrow those strips of bacon and crisp them up a little bit more. I think that's maybe a little bit more American, or maybe perhaps it was just regional for that part of the UK. I don't know, but
it was not crispy.
Well, it was crispy, but it's that wider sort of slices. And
yeah, I can do that. I can do all kinds of bacon. Yeah,
well, I mean, and you put HB on it, and you can. I mean, it could be practically covered in coronavirus, and you put HB on it, it's going to be. I guess you'll probably save that for the conference in Italy, where no one will be able to understand what I'm saying. But yeah, delectable. And it was amazing. I have to tell you, Jared, and everybody listening, that I began eating this food. I did not realize how innervated I was. And of course, there was much more to it than just the travel, because, having to fight, I don't know, Jared, if you saw any of the pictures, but having this incessant just demand on the psyche to be clean, to sanitize hands, to keep masks on, to keep goggles on when the airflow is moving, all of this sort of stuff. And then all leading up to it, are we going to be allowed to go? Are we going to be detained? How can I get back out? What's the contacts in the government saying? All of this going on. So it was actually quite a bit of stress that I didn't realize. And not eating up until that point was really just wearing me out. But then when I ate this full English breakfast, it was like the opposite of kryptonite. I was immediately invigorated, and suddenly the world had vivid colors again. And we jumped back in the car, racing all over the countryside yet again.
How was the countryside where you were? I
got to tell you, it was stunning. It was much, regrettably, we see and where we were some trash littering on the side of the road. We really need, Virginia put in some very stern penalties for littering a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I think it's even in place though. I think it's $500 in Virginia. You throw anything out of your car onto the ground, and you're getting a $500 ticket minimum.
Yeah, good.
And it really should be even higher than that, because there is no excuse for littering the commons where we all have to be. There's absolutely no take that trash and you put it in a bin, as they say. But aside from the sides of the road, which we do see here, as I say, in the States, and not as much maybe in Virginia as some of the others where they don't have as harsh penalties, but the rolling downs, this green landscape, the kestrels, I don't know what they were, if they were grouse or pheasants or what they were, walking along, little family of them on the side of the road, and sheep out in the distance, and these
that low British sky too.
Yeah,
I've commented on that before. Some people don't like it. I like the fact that this looks like you can almost reach up and touch the sky.
Oh,
because even though our weather is similar to where we are in the U.S., of course, because of the Gulf Stream snaking up from the Caribbean up to the Atlantic, Europe is on a higher latitude than us. But
Right.
countries like England have similar, generally similar weather to the northern and middle United States. Um, so I don't know. I love it. I mean, hey, I love going all these different places. I've spent time in Texas, and there's a big sky there. Some of you might have heard
Mhm.
the big sky in Texas, and that's beautiful too in its own way. But yes, I was quite taken with England when I've been there. There's definitely a stirring in the soul and a magic,
Oh,
and really in all of our European countries. If we get back to being able to travel to all these places, maybe the coronavirus will, big picture now, strike a deadly blow to globalism. We don't want anyone to get hurt, but if it's going to go down this way, that's the. I think you even alluded to that in your speech, right? That we
mm,
have to use this incident to wake a lot more people up. We can
mhm.
grab the narrative by the reins and say, look at the domino effect of all the things that went wrong because of globalism. What is it like now when the supply chains are cut, when you're living in a multiracial city and you don't share much with your neighbors, and often even language
Mm.
or senses of normalcy? That is going to be as we all know, a tremendous. Well, it's going to be quite challenging for some people, and they may. I think a lot of people are on the other side of this are going to they're going to be amenable to our views, and we have to be there. We have to be there to greet them and lead them into this.
No, very well said. That is exactly right. And yeah, we did touch upon that a little bit in the speech. For the reasons you just stated, and that's what we've been talking about all along, really, when it comes to service to white well-being and actually doing something for our people, and that is going free, treating ourselves for the mean pathogens, and then going out to those around us in our circles of influence and helping them to go free. And we said, folks, you can go back if you've been with Jared and myself over the past, I guess it's almost 3 years now on YouTube. And if you've known me, if you're one of those who have known me and been listening to me speak about this sort of thing for many years now, you know that I have been saying that what we need to be doing is increasing our numbers, helping people with a psychological defense against the psychological warfare being waged against them, so that they can better themselves, release the powerful Western spirit within them. They can help, and to varying degrees. It's not a one-time thing. It's a lifelong mission and duty that you commit to, and then you help those around you. They go free, and to begin that process, there's never a gone free. It's just lifelong thing. And by doing so, we increase our numbers, intelligence, creativity, liquidity, everything that can make us powerful as an entity. Whether the degree to organization is immaterial. Of course, certainly greater organizational entity control is superior, but nonetheless, if we have a mass of people who are going free, they are inoculating their children, and we can talk about that. We have mothers who are tearing, for the first time, looking into the textbooks of their children. And we can come back to this, but looking into the textbook of their children, because now they have to homeschool. Schools are being shut down all over, and they're seeing page after page of anti-whiteism. Just this hate yourself, hate your people, so you hate yourself. And then all of these little drawings, just like I was exposed to in preschool, even before I reached elementary school, where it's the white kids are misbehaving, the white little girls are with the non-white little boys, the white little boys are with the non-white little girls, beginning in an age when our children are immensely malleable, and just ripping them out of the textbooks, because now they're seeing for the first time, and they're going to be looking around the world and saying, who can do better than this? Who can do better than a world that is shut down by viruses that move across the land like plagues, that are killing many, that are disfiguring the lungs of some, even though they live. And of course, some, yes, are coming through it just fine. But who can do better than this? Who can do better than the economy being crashed because everything has been offshored to places like communist dictatorships and all that communist, anti-white communist. And what really matters, ladies and gentlemen, remember when you're talking about a place like China, is that it's anti-white. China as a government is not white positive. They don't want white people to be empowered. They don't want us to be well. They don't want us to be strong. They've said, look at the kinds of things that enemies of the United States say about diversity. And this, when we're using the word here, we're using it the same way that the anti-whites use it. They like it in our countries. They push it in our countries. And
it weakens us.
Because it weakens. And you see right now when they want to have a narrative about where coronavirus came from, they want to sow some lie into the public. Anybody who contradicts it, then they immediately use the exact same meme pathogens that the anti-whites in our midst have been using to silence us.
Did you see the tweet by some kind of agency in China about all of a sudden they were good little Western liberals and saying, oh, calling it China flu or this or that is racist, and we're above that. And as people were pointing out on Twitter today, people in China don't buy the racist thing. They don't see the world that way. They just know they're using it as a lever because they know it has an effect on some of our population. And there's all kinds of interesting bits of info going around. I have this little picture saved with one of our pink-haired friends, and that term Baizu, I don't know if I'm saying it perfectly, but Baizu, Chinese epithet, it refers to a native Western person who advocated for equality and progressivism and only cares about these wedge issues. They've been studying our society. They've been making a sociological study and a political study of all of these points that are the weakest points in our chain. So it's hysterical for people like us who know what's up to see a Chinese agency tweet something out about, oh, don't be horrible racists. They're just using our language, not our language, but the language of, unfortunately, some of our population here who have been, their heads have been messed with.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
Some people are asking about the green. Why are you flashing?
Yeah,
I think we know why.
Who was it here? I want to. Cornelia says, Jason, is that kryptonite to Corona flashing on your chest? Of course, the green is for St. Patrick's Day, and
keeping the Corona
flashing
away.
Keep the Corona away, and the flashing. This is the four-leaf clover, and it flashes for the festive nature of the stream tonight. Let's see, Traversing the Divide is here, and looks like Jennifer P is here. Hello, dear lady. We have so many great folks here. Nella says, was that your first time in Britain? No, in fact, the first time I was there was, I don't know, about a dozen years ago, and I had to hire a car, as they say over there. I try to use the proper vernacular when I am abroad, and so the guy said, sure. We're walking out. It was driving rain, and pun intended. And I said, I've never been here before. I've never driven on the other side of the car. And of course I had to tell the joke. I've never been on the wrong side of the car on the wrong side of the road. And I said, so you got any tips? And he said, no, it's just like back home, just the opposite. there you go.
It takes a little getting used to.
Yes.
I didn't drive when I was there.
Being out on the road was actually not a problem. It was trying to go the right direction out of car parks and that sort of thing. That was the problem.
Yeah, man.
Because then, everything being reversed in a car park was really strange. But I think because I was so nervous about potentially having a head-on collision that while I was there, that I didn't err once, not a single time while I was there. But when I returned back to the States, twice I got onto the wrong side of the road. I was just, I guess, just, you know, once I was back here, I was relaxing but I was still, I guess, in the groove of driving on the other side. But the real thing that was weird driving then, I didn't drive this time. I should have asked Mark, let me do some donuts in your car. That'll be for next time. We didn't have a lot of time. And I'm sure he would have been thrilled at the prospect of me pulling some donuts in his car. But the real thing was, for me, that was strange, simple as it may seem, was the dashboard in the peripheral vision of my left eye. That was I kept noticing that the entire time, that this dash seemed so long off to the left. I didn't notice how there was no dash on the right. It was just the window in the road. But the dash on the left hand side was very weird. It was one of those minor things that Jennifer says, why is Jason flashing? Well, it's what happens immediately before I strip. It's going to be warning. It's going
to be a wild St. Patrick's Day party.
That's right.
You know, a lot of people are down in the dumps.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day parades were canceled. So
well, yes. And then, you know what?
We're doing something special tonight.
I think I do. Yes, I do have one of these. So another one of these, believe it or not. Let's see if I can make this work. This is for St. Patrick's Day. Okay. It worked. Ooh. Oh, there we go. It fired that. There we go. It fired the other bits clear over the other machine over there. I'm going to have to go look for it. Probably start a fire here. Coconut says, were the roads narrow? Well, Mark did not take. Now, here's something. So I want to proceed with, just like overall. So we were, well, when I was driving Coconut a dozen years ago, yes, I found a lane that was so narrow, and it was meant for traffic going both ways. It wasn't one way, that the shrubbery was scraping both sides of the car as I was driving. And then what it had, Jared, it had these little like indents into, I guess, what was underneath the shrubbery, the vines, the whatever is there, it maybe stone walls or something. And so I guess the stone wall bowed out so that if you came upon someone, one of you would have to back up to one of these spots, and then they would drive, and then you would get to drive. But it takes a lot of, I guess, being polite to make those kinds of.
I don't know. I've seen those types of setups in rural areas of the United States as well, but I feel like they're more common in Europe. I saw that in Germany too.
Oh, okay. Well, I could definitely.
You'd have to. Yeah, you all of a sudden you're head on with someone. You're like, well, one of us has to back up, eh?
I don't know what would happen. I might have a moment of flashback of when I was a young man playing chicken on the bicycles and riding straight at each other to see who was going to veer off or if you're going to collide and knock each other's teeth out. Wasn't that fun? Boys being boys. Well, this is something that's weird. We were driving on roads that certainly, Jared, were not that narrow, but were narrower than we have here. And all of a sudden, I hear the roar of 12 cylinders. And I'm thinking, this can't be. This cannot be. The roar and the
Kurt Doolittle's Ferrari?
No. Yeah, exactly. A Lamborghini. I could not believe.
I was close.
Yes, a Lamborghini. It was
on a little country road.
It was more than a third wider than Mark's car, and it roars by at this intersection. And I shout, I was like, a Lamborghini. And then I asked Mark, I said, where can this thing actually drive? It's too wide to go anywhere. And he said, well, the really wealthy people here, they'll buy things like these Italian sports cars or the supercars or the big American cars. And then they have something they have to do. Maybe there's a license they have to get or they have to pay. And you have to be permitted to have the vehicle that wide on the narrow roads. And so that was really interesting. Another thing that was interesting I found out there is that, my whole life, we were poor working class family. And so when our junk for automobiles broke down, we always fixed them. Well, in the UK, the government has some sort of pressure on the used car dealerships. And so if or we refer to as the check engine light, if that comes on, then you just take your car back. And they have to they either have to fix whatever is wrong with the vehicle, or they have to give you all of your money back.
That's a new one. Wow.
I just thought that was so alien to me, because I thought, well, something's wrong. Well, put it up on blocks or whatever it is that you need to get at, and you diagnose, and then you fix the junk, and then the junk goes back. Now, Mark has a nice car, so he doesn't have to deal with regular breakdowns, but that was something that was interesting.
You mentioned the stone walls. I love the stone walls.
Yes, they were absolutely.
And we do have that a bit here in certain regions, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a biospirit thing. It's ever since I was young, it just pulls on my heartstrings. I just have a special place in my heart for those stone walls. Mentioning Mark, let me just ask briefly, did you get to meet his family? Was little Sophia there, or did he keep them out of the conference?
They were not there, or if they were in incognito. Did I see any children? Now that I think about it, I don't know that I saw any. And then, of course, it makes sense. People worried about coronavirus, and even though many
right, of course,
finding out that children are not being harmed by it, but
yeah, I've been seeing pregnant women out here in the States, and I think that that's nuts right now.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, there was. Let me see where else we walked into a couple little shops, and it was a great. I reminded Mark actually that we had very briefly met, so it wasn't technically our meeting at the airport wasn't the very first time, but we didn't speak very long the first time. It was at an Ameren conference many years ago, many years ago, and it was Mark and I guess Nick and maybe some bodyguard, and I just briefly spoke with them, me and the three of them, and I remember they were wearing all black or black and gray. And I just remember coming away from the conversation thinking, do you have to wear black and gray if you're a nationalist in the UK, or is this just a stylistic choice? Because they sort of like, is this like a uniform, almost a thing that I wondered? But they looked great though, and they were all matching. They looked fabulous, and I remember I think Mark spoke. I feel pretty confident that he spoke at that Ameren conference. But anyhow,
it's become kind of a trademark for him, the black and gray.
Oh yeah. Well, it looks good in it, so it makes sense. But yeah, when we saw him at the airport, well, we threw arms around each other, and it's like I said many times there, meeting old friends for the first time, and that was a great example of that. And
I love that phrase. That's great.
Yeah, just the way that these relationships, folks, that we're all making, they are as real as relationships made face to face. Now there is the added element when you are face to face that Mark touches upon eloquently, that can move the ball a little bit further. But none of this is fake, and none of this is artificial. None of this is pedaling without a chain. All of this is real. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Anyone who out there who says that this is not doing anything, you're not accomplishing anything, they are subversives, whether it is out of intent or stupidity. Those people are subversives. We have these giant communities now because of these digital relationships. So don't let folks tell you otherwise. Let's see what else we have here in the chat, and just so you all know, ladies and gentlemen, I'll mention it again for folks who are showing up now, weren't here at the very beginning. Mr. George is under the weather with a stomach flu. He does not have coronavirus, and there is definitely a possibility that that we talked about beforehand, that he might not be able to make it the whole time with us. So if he goes before we finish here, it's not because he has suddenly fallen deathly ill, or he has measured his strength before we got started and his energy, and has said that maybe it'll be the distance, maybe not. We'll see as we're rolling along. So just so you all know that ahead of time. Let's see, Justin.
We don't want any rumors.
We don't want any rumors. Justin Lee says, if you had been there a few days later, you could have seen the snakes escaping Ireland. Well, what kind of snakes is this? I don't know. I don't follow. let me know exactly what you mean, brother. And looks like Takar is here donning armor. I met Jared. I cannot tell you how many heroes I met. I mean, we had here, and I also want to say this, that Mark is a real class act in that he's all in many ways. And one of the ways is that he's always trying to conservatively state, he was always trying to conservatively state the numbers of how many folks were there and how many women were there. And I think maybe this has come from perhaps maybe being stung by folks who want to lie about the success that he's having or the success of organizations that he's been with over the years. So I will go ahead and say that there were probably 30 more people present than he will count for you, and maybe 20 more or so women than he will count for you. It was a big, exciting, and exhilarating event. And as I say, if you don't have a frame of reference, you've only attended a conference, this one or maybe one other or so in the UK, you won't know. I mean, in the US, we have to deal with there's this, even though you push it to the back of your mind, it's still like a eidolon wafting around this. Are they going to poison the food? Is the whole non-white staff here, or 60% non-white staff here, are they going to poison the food, or are they just going to spit in it? Or, I mean, that's always in the back of the mind. So you have to worry about that. And which is not to say that white anti-whites wouldn't do that. Of course they would. But these folks, they at the place we were at, and we won't be mentioning it, they were very professional. Don't know where their opinions were, but I can tell you this: there's no way that we gave them any ammo to validate the anti-white narrative. I mean, we are the exact opposite, a classy group. And in fact, speaking to Mark's class again, at the end of the conference, and I don't know if this is captioned on any audio anywhere, but at the end of the conference, Mark made an appeal, not for himself, not even for PA. He made an appeal for folks to put their change or their pounds, their quid, whatever they could spare, into a box up at the front for the staff of this place, because he said they're going to have some lean months ahead. They're going to have conferences canceled, and they're going to have, who knows, are they going to be able to keep their jobs? Who knows how long this is going to go? So any little bit that you could put in the box up at the front will help them. And
we're the bad guys. Yeah,
we're supposedly the bad guys. So at that moment, that's when I couldn't hold back anymore. I leapt up, and if this guy is doing this for the staff of this facility, I had brought with me a T-shirt for Mark, and it said "No White Guilt." It's got the flag across the front of it, Union Jack, and it's got a little top hat on it. And so I presented that to Mark, and then I told folks, and this is truly amazing. I told the folks, I said, I have bumper stickers with me, the exact same design, and 5 quid a piece, and all of it goes to Mark. And so within, 4 minutes, Jared, sold out. And folks were still coming up. And I was holding all of the quid right on top of, I had this little rectangular pouch box thing that the stickers were in, and they would go out, and then I would just put the money under my thumb, and sold out, encircled by these heroes. And they were coming up and saying, I'd like to get a sticker. Sorry, sold out. Well, it's going to Mark. Take it anyhow. And so folks were at that point donating money. They were donating money, buying stickers to go to Mark. They were putting money in the box and these are working class folks. Mr. Pie didn't show up. And so these are working class people who are taking their hard-earned dollars, meaningful, or pounds, and then giving them to these worthy requests. And so it was an honor to be able to present that to someone who had just made an appeal for other people in need. Yeah, and we're, just like you said, Jared, we're supposed to be the bad guys, right?
Yeah, some of the highest character people I've ever met are all involved in our thing. So we really are the good guys.
Well, I see classy activism is here. I prefer white pudding to black pudding. English food was good, but black pudding just doesn't sound appealing to me. Plus, Beer Hall Pooch said to avoid it, and the bloke's pretty English. He is. Classy activism, great to see you. One of the heroes there. And Beer Hall Pooch, of course, met him as well there. And he is a barrel-chested man and the kind of guy that if you had to be in a fight at a bar, you definitely want him on your side. So glad to have met him.
So you were saying, I think I heard you say elsewhere, that you kind of spoke with the public a little bit when you were out and about to kind of take the temperature of how open people are to our kind of thing. Didn't you speak to like waitresses at a pub or something like that?
I did, and was having absolute success. It was fantastic. I didn't hold anything back. I just went after it. You know, like I said, I think I said it in my speech. I said it somewhere. I really didn't care. And I don't care, just generally speaking. I mean, I was at the gym today. Most of the gyms in Virginia are being closed. Fortunately,
I was going to say, it's still open.
Yeah, fortunately, mine is still open. And I was in there with a mask, the only one with a mask. I don't care. I want to be able to continue to serve White Wellbeing for as long as I can and not lose any productivity because I'm sick with even a basic flu, much less something that could put a person on a ventilator or scar their lungs or whatever it might be. So yeah, I was just come right out and having success with waiting staff, and that was just a marvelous thing to be able to speak to these people. There really is, and I said it during the speech, there really is this really is a moment in history where the typical nationalism, the typical conservatism, it's just going down the drain. People are sick of it and their ears are open to new things. And if you are speaking in a new language, new dialectics, new lexicon, when they hear it, their eyes get big and they realize that, I can put those who harm us into a single box and understand it. And it's pithy enough that I can hold this thing and yet live my life, pay my car bills, pay my taxes, work my job and still understand the world by way of this lens. And so they're taking right to it. I was really delighted with that. And I sat right down. I wish I could say the names of everybody. I don't know who would mind even their screen names being said that they were there. But I sat right. I turned the corner. A lot of folks didn't know I was the person coming. They knew that someone else was coming, but they didn't know it was me. So I turned the corner at this pub. And by the way, marvelous place. Freezing cold outside to me because I have no body fat. And I, of course, didn't bring my jacket. But I got to this pub, nice and warm inside, glow coming out of the windows of this English pub, and low ceiling. I'm just a hair under 6 feet, and that ceiling was right there. You really couldn't be much taller than that and not have to hunch down. But I turned the corner to where we had pretty much occupied a whole third of this pub, and I turned the corner, and there were all of these people that I had met by doing this, had seen on videos, people who write blogs and all. There were all of these heroes, these celebrities. And of course, they saw me and they were shocked and surprised because they didn't know I was even coming, the majority of them. But I was shocked and surprised just the same way you're shocked and surprised when you would see somebody who is on the television. Back in the day. It was just like, oh my God, there's, and I'm going like through in my mind, I'm like, look at all these wonderful people. And I got to sit right down beside some great folks. And classy activism was there, and we had a great time, had a great meal there. The servers they seemed like, if they were not the best actors on planet Earth, they seemed like they actually cared about how you felt about your food and your experience at this little pub. How alien to me here in the States, certainly in the DC metropolitan area, where the service, they could not care less. They want to immediately get back to their like giant rumped television series, whatever it might be, where they're watching people, scantily clad and giant rumped run around the screen screaming about, their nails or their hair or whatever, the grease, the car auto grease that they put in their hair. That's what they want to get back. They couldn't care less how you feel about the experience. So it actually felt like a kinship with the servers. It was just remarkable. I looked out across this pub, and everybody had a similar biospirit. I knew, the range of behaviors to expect, the range. It was just a familiarity and a comfort that you don't get when you are in these multiracial places, and you really don't notice that you're not experiencing it until you have this frame of reference, until you are someplace else. So that
I'd imagine we've spoken about this with certain guests on tap, but can you give a little insight into the subtleties of what that feels like, what that does to your mind, your emotions, your physiology?
Well, the best way I can say it is that it felt much more like you were the relationship here. I'm talking about the relationship between the person who's dining and those who are serving. It felt much more like a family get together with those people. So It felt like there was an absolute connection to like this was like a cousin coming in and saying, well, here's your meal, family member. That's what it felt like. And it is so different here. Even when you have these other folks who they can be polite, it definitely seems like, and that's, by the way, rare. It's wonderful when they are polite, but it definitely doesn't seem like a family member is bringing you your meal. And regrettably, what happens is when you live in that environment all the time, and we see from our folks, when they live in that environment, they don't know what they're on the verge of losing when they embrace anti-whiteism. That familiarity, that feeling that that's a family member that is bringing you the meal, asking you if you want more water or whatever it might be, that feeling is going to be severed if you go into a multiracial environment. That's why those people are also the easiest to brainwash with these meme pathogens. So yeah, it was truly a remarkable situation. And driving through these, I've got to say there are a couple criticisms, like they've got to get better GPS in the UK. I don't know what it is. What is the deal with the folks? These roads, and they're this way, and then it's like trying to follow a thread, through balls and balls of yarn. It was just great. And then the GPSs are just, I'm looking at the screen, and it's a mess. It's like spaghetti thrown up all over the screen.
Could it have to do with the old roads, though?
Yes,
based on like farming, cow paths?
Yes.
You're in the old world.
Yeah. And here, for example, in Virginia, we kept, from even from like ancient times, some of these roads were, perhaps Solutreans made these paths for, and then they were animal paths and all these sorts of things, and so they became dirt roads, and then eventually gravel, and then so we've got these crazy roads that do. And when I was a teenager, we would go find these roads. They were fewer and fewer because what would happen is the county government or what have you would say, this is a real death trap. So many people die on the road, and it is totally inefficient. It's difficult to keep up, and so they go through and they just make a nice straight road with wide, curves. I don't know, that's not totally possible in all areas, and that's why some of these roads continue to exist. But we would go racing up and down these roads. Once you have it memorized, you can semi-safely, and it's a heck of a lot of fun drive through these roads. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like perhaps there are restrictions, other sorts of things that prevent it from. But the GPS, at least, could be made to work with these wild roads a little better, so that it isn't quite as confusing. But
I know this is a little tougher because we all speak the same language. But did anyone assume? Was there any way to indicate? Anyone assume that you were English?
Of the people I spoke with, or prior to me opening my mouth?
Well, of course, prior to opening your mouth.
Yes. Well,
Just on the, like you're saying, the traits, what we share. Obviously, again, it's much easier to tell this in a non-English speaking country. If you're in Germany and someone walks up to you and starts speaking German, then that's clearly an indication that they just assume you're German. So it might be a moot point or difficult to answer, but just curious if there's anything that would indicate that.
well, I think that to speak to that question, or at least the spirit of the question, I was always approached as though I was one of the tribe by employees, by the servers, by the different places that Mark and I, little places, little shops we stopped in. Nobody, I guess, I never got the feeling that people
You were seen as an other.
Right, precisely. And and of course, and then even when I spoke, I guess I was, a polite guy. So I wasn't perceived at least that I could tell as like an arrogant or something American or anything of that nature. There was no stigma attached to me.
I would imagine. You want to hear something mind blowing? Is that for the fact that I speak English, I guess relatively well, there have been people in the United States that assume I'm British just because I'm not using trash language. Other Americans sometimes even.
Right.
It's like, oh, we sense a little, were you born in Britain and came over? Because their ears aren't used to hearing someone actually speak the language properly.
Mm.
That's the point we've fallen to.
Yeah. Yeah, that it really is. And of course, that is anti-whiteism's effort to make manifest the declaration that there is no difference among the races. They're all the same. And so they should have the exact same outcomes. And when those frontline anti-whites who are endeavoring to achieve those identical outcomes, when they have tried, and ladies and gentlemen, the West has spent trillions and trillions in dollars, in genius, in effort for many, many, many decades, trying to make everybody the exact, homogenize the entire, all of the peoples, all of the lands, and it's failed. So what direction can they go? Well, the only direction they can go is lowest common denominator. And so then they hold back. And we talked a little bit about that in the speech as well, just this feathering of our wings. Traversing the Divide is here. Hello, good brother.
Yes, hello.
Let me see.
There's some new Traversing the Divide tracks on our community pages on the website and on Jason's playlist here on YouTube.
Yes, indeed, we do. Tall Kevin says, yeah, but China wants us to save money with cheap products. I'm not sure exactly what you're speaking to there, brother, but yes, that's what they want to do. They want to save us money with all of their garbage. You got chaperoned by Mark Collette. I'm jealous. Yes, I was chaperoned and from place to place by the good sir. And we were both pretty exhausted by the time we got to our hotel. And so he had some things to do, and perhaps he'll talk about these things when he gets an opportunity. And I had things to do. So we really didn't get an opportunity to rest. I was busy unpacking and prepping for the coming day. And so, and trying to ascertain whether or not am I going to be here for the full week as I had planned to be here? Am I going to be trapped here? Am I going to not be allowed to return? Am I going to be permitted to return, but then not have the money to return because the ticket's going to be $7,000 since, it's going to be me and 3 other people on the airplane or something of that nature. So I was trying to figure out that, and also trying to figure out really get my bearings. I talked a bit about the shower door and in the bathroom of this place, this half shower door. The other day when I first got back, I got back and landed. By the way, so I guess when I went over arrived at Dulles International Airport, empty. ghost town, and got boarded the airplane, and this flight had been sold out, empty. The stewardess said, "You can have that whole row, sir. You just." So if I had been,
that must have been nice.
Normal, well, it would have been. It was fabulous, I must say. When I was lying across these 3 seats, to the best of my ability. You put the arms up, and they don't go all the way up on the Airbus airplanes, but the armrest. But if I'd been a normal person and able to go to sleep, I would have been out I'm sure the whole 7 hours. I would have been just out, and I would have been so refreshed when I landed. But I wasn't able to sleep, but I was able to rest. At least I was able to lie down. And these tickets that I purchased, by the way, and some of you will have seen the photo. The seats are this wide. There's no moving. It's torture. If I had been, just sort of crammed in with folks around me, because of course we got the cheapest seats, seat there and seat back. But I got to lie down across 3 seats, and so at least that was good. I was rested in that way. And it was funny because every time there was a cough or a sneeze somewhere, I would pull the blanket up over my head. Now I wore the mask aside from when I was eating or drinking, and I sterilized everything. I mean, to talk about a hassle, and sterilizing the hands again and again, and using lotion following that up so the hands don't start cracking and then picking up infections. But whether we landed, and that airport, Heathrow, far fewer people than there could be in that place. When I flew back, I was on the A380. So this is the monster plane, a little bit bigger than a 747, but not nearly as attractive. That kind of that bulbous top to it, for me at least, makes it less attractive. And I tell you, Airbus makes some other really hideous. I think there's one called like the Guppy, or this. It's just a monstrosity. But that one's used for shipping things. But anyhow, I got on that plane now, as opposed to the one going to the UK. That plane was sold out, and the plane was packed. Got into my seat, and I swear, God or the gods or whatever must have been with me. It was a row of 4, and I was 1 in from the edge, from the aisle, and then seat beside me on my left, and then 1 more over there. Well, this absolute heifer of an American woman just squeezed herself into there, and I could hear the seat let out a yell that only an inanimate object can make when it's under such weight and torture. Anyhow, she squeezed into this. She was spilling into that seat beside me. It just absolutely.
This has becoming the norm more and more.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, it was absolutely so arousing. Let me tell you, when she was just copiously spilling into the seat, it was just such a turn on. And I thought, oh my God, this poor bastard that's got to sit there is going to be in my seat with me. And you probably can't tell just video wise, but my shoulders, I have wide shoulders. And so I'm really using all of the limited space that they give. So I've got really nowhere to go. I'm going to be in a very intimate situation shortly. And, but the God or gods must have been with me, because both of those seats on either side of me went empty. Those people didn't show up. And thank God they didn't, because I needed, just my arms overlapped my armrests. How do people actually ride for 8 hours and 15 minutes, 8 hours, 20 minutes on the way back? But there was a lot of, there were some funny things. I got to try to remember some of the wilder things that happened while we were on the planes, because they were a long trip, and I was having a bit of fun here and there. but people coughing and sneezing. And so on the trip back, I wore the goggles much of the time as well as the masks. Kept those on all the time. Let me see. Fuck. PHUCK says, probably a nice Vietnamese lad, says, they had the National Guard lining up on McKnight Road in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have pictures of them. Really? That's interesting. Dissident Agnostic, your patriotic alternative speech was superb. Well, thank you so much for saying that. I was the energy of the previous speakers, as we said, but also the energy of that marvelous group of people, Jared. Just so many heroes out there. They were, many of them, asking about you, Jared, and your wanting me to thank you for your service to White Wellbeing, appreciating you. And so that was very meaningful to me as well, to be able to hear that. And so really, yeah, it was a great time had by all. And let's see if we have anybody else. I think we're using up Mr. George's energy, ladies and gentlemen. So he'll be leaving in just a minute. If you have any questions for Jared, or you want to say anything to him, tag the both of us, and do so now before we let our good friend and leader here get back to his recovery. Pierce Taylor says, NWG private jet, when? Oh God, wouldn't that be nice?
No, you know what? This man is, again, such high character. Even if millions of dollars in donations and funding came in,
right,
he wouldn't be taking it on something like a private jet, unless there was some kind of a balancing out where he could be 10 times more effective than flying commercial. But no one's here to. I know it's a silly comment, and I'm not trying to sound overly serious, but we were talking about the character before, and no one is going out and buying luxury items.
No.
You know, it's being reinvested for effectiveness. So, yeah, I guess only if a private jet would somehow be amazingly more effective, but not just for the aspect of the luxury. And I know I can, other people like Mark and other colleagues have the same mindset, and that's really, I think, what sets us apart. Is it's really about what is for the good of this, what is for the good of our people, what's going to be most effective. You know, that is obviously, and that's why people like the ladies who were there present, a lot of them were formerly Tommy Robinson types, and now Dion's tweeting all day. She does have a little bit of a mischievous side, doesn't she? And she's probably trying to goad Tommy Robinson. But she's sharing these pictures on Twitter, and it is actually very good optics. It's like, hey, look, all the women came over from the Tommy Robinson camp to Mark Collett.
Yes.
Because this is where the real deal is. This is what's going on. There's no, I mean, you know, everyone who gets up on a video wants to, we're human beings, and sometimes you kind of fight for your place. But I don't see ego, you know, the way that people think of ego about, you know, glorifying yourself or buying expensive clothes. These are people who are really in it for the right reasons. And it's apparent, and more people are seeing that. I know it's a hard thing to take on someone's word, but I think the proof is in the pudding. I think that people who are flocking to what Mark's doing in the UK, other things around the world, and what we're starting to do here, what Jason's been doing, his teachings, people can tell. I think people can tell what's genuine.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on here.
Yep.
And I couldn't be happier to be part of it.
Yeah, I feel this exact same way.
Didn't mean to. I know it was said, Pierce, in you know, lighthearted way. I'm not, again, trying to be overly serious, but it's just what the comment inspired in me. But yes, in other circumstances, or if it was highly effective, I'm sure it would be nice. You know, we're not self-flagellating either. Let me balance it out there, Don. You know, we are people who appreciate beauty, appreciate our people's ingenuity, beautiful vehicles and buildings and things like that.
Well, sure.
And there's a certain degree of, when you're around beautiful, well-made things, I do believe that it puts you in a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It raises you, and you may be able to have more energy, work longer, be sharper when you are around beauty and things that resonate with our instincts. So I'm not saying all that to say that we have to wear hair shirts and you never acquire any kind of personal wealth and be monks. It's just, like anything, it's a delicate balance.
It is indeed. And we have, and I will say about the ladies, and I've said it a couple of times, I've made some jokes about it. It was almost like walking into like Playboy Mansion or something. I mean, it was just so many good looking women.
Healthy, yeah, healthy people there.
Yeah. I was delighted. I was delighted with the organic architecture. I must have had pictures taken with folks over 100, and it was splendid. I loved every single one of them, throwing my arms around folks, and such heroes. Because this is the beginning. As I was saying in the speech, these are the first steps, and there are more steps to come, and things are going to get a lot bigger and bolder and magnificent as we move forward. But nonetheless, these were real signs of something incipient that is wonderful and powerful. JK160 over here on Entropy, gifting $5. Thank you so much, brother. And writing here, Jared, thanks for streaming sick. The show is a needed distraction from the craziness going on in the U.S.
Thank you. For anyone joining late, I do not have coronavirus. I just had a stomach bug. It's going around my area. I know people who had it. There are no digestive symptoms whatsoever for coronavirus. I don't have a fever. I don't have a cough, respiratory. So I've just been really knocked for a loop today with a little stomach episode earlier, but thankfully it was quick. Yeah. But I still wanted to be here to, well, it might have been worse to not show up and have people wondering if I do in fact have the coronavirus and I'm sitting in a hospital room somewhere. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew it was okay. And it does lift my spirits to be here. I will say too, if everyone, whatever it means to them, could put out some good thoughts, good intentions. Someone close to me is stranded outside of the United States right now. Hopefully it'll be okay. The situation doesn't look dire, but it's certainly not a desirable situation either. And there's some concern. So please do keep that in mind as well.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. I have developed today a dry cough. So I hope this isn't the beginning of the end. I doubt it, but we'll see. Heidi over here, gifting $25 on Entropy. Thank you so much, dear lady, for that gift to White Wellbeing.
Yes, thank you.
A shout out to everyone. Love you all. Stay safe and don't lose the faith. Well written. Thank you. And Dissident Agnostic also gifting $25 to the protection of white babies. Thank you so much. And
oh yeah, thank you.
Writing, my new NWG coffee mug makes beverages taste exquisite. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for writing that. And yeah, do show that off to family and friends. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And we have Tall Kevin in the question widget asking, Jason, Richard Spencer was banned from entering the UK and the EU. Why do you think you were allowed to enter? Well, there are a number of reasons for that. And some of that speaks to human dynamism. And so it can get kind of complicated. But ultimately, if you bring a lot of attention to yourself and you say things that are in keeping with the anti-white narrative, in keeping with the antagonist in the anti-white narrative, you get a lot of attention. And he says things that get him a lot of attention. And therefore, you bring unwarranted attention as well, or unwanted attention. And so when you do that, you end up with someone or folks out there who, irrespective of your ability to do good, you end up with folks out there who say, this is one of the The problem, folks, this is a troublemaker. This is the bad guy from the anti-white narrative, and let's shut that person down. So it's like it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with, although it could, you can examine this for yourself, whether or not he is saying something that is in some way beneficial to the well-being of our people in the UK or in the rest of Europe. You can make that assessment for yourself. But you can think about it in this way, that he does not need to be. No one needs to be. There are guys, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are a great many guys who perfectly imitate the antagonist in the anti-white narrative. You have no idea what their names are. You never will. They have no popularity. They couldn't motivate somebody to leave a burning house. And yet they too have been banned from places like the UK and the EU and Canada. And they end up getting banned because of the same reasons I just articulated. So if you perfectly imitate narratives baddie and you get attention from the wrong individuals, and by wrong here, I mean folks that can take steps or can speak with someone who can take steps to forbid travel, then you will be banned. Now, you could also end up getting banned because you have something to share that is effective. But as you can see here, we don't resemble the antagonist in the anti-white narrative in any way, shape, or form. So when anti-whites are presented with us, the only thing they want to do is run away. They just want to get away because it takes them out of the narrative where they are the hero. They get to slay the dragon in the story. So they just want to get away from us. Now, there could be folks further up the line that once they see the kind of success we're having with the lexicon and dialectics, they will take steps to ban me or Jared George from entering these lands of our lineage. But that's just a risk we have to take. And during a time like this, going to a country, returning to this country where you have everybody concerned about a plague circling the globe, they prioritize things. And so even if I had been on a stop and bother this guy as much as possible list, I immediately was pushed out of sight and out of mind as they had to deal with much more important things. But I will tell you this, I take all of the steps to protect everybody who associates or speaks with me, so that when I travel abroad, I have a travel phone, and I don't mind the government's knowing this. I have an economical laptop that doesn't have anybody's information on it. The travel phone has nobody's information on it. So if they were to take everything from me and go through it all, there'd be nothing that they could get from you all. All of it's deleted, signed out of all accounts. So the only thing they could do is question me. And if they wanted to turn me around at that point, well, then that's fine.
Well, that's very smart. That's very smart. Think about this, folks. Jason didn't put any of us at risk by having information on his phone, using a temporary phone. I actually remember messaging you, and you were like, "Oh, I'm glad you messaged me," because I couldn't message you until you messaged me first. It just happened. I'm sure you guys can imagine, Jason. I speak most days, at least on text, and I didn't even think of it. But you had told me before you went how you had a temporary phone, and I'm glad I did send it to you, because you weren't able to reach out to me first. You didn't have any numbers saved.
Yeah.
Nothing to give them if they did stop you and put you in a room and check out your laptop and your phone. Yeah. So very wise. Always thinking of everyone. Always thinking of the bigger movement in the community.
Yeah, precisely. We have popcorn power. I read that many bar and restaurant workers were fired due to the mandatory closures. What can we do for them? I assume the owners thought it better they get on welfare for the duration. Well, that's obviously what's going to happen to these folks. They're going to get unemployment, and the unemployment will easily last for, I surmise, unless things change radically on these projections of the course this is going to take. But their workers' insurance unemployment insurance is going to keep them fed. But the important thing that we can do for them, you asked Popcorn Power, is we can get to them with going free, because they're going to be wondering, what kind of world is this where I can't even keep my job serving people, where everybody's getting sick, and this government is, all they do is argue with each other. They never get anything done, and everything they do get done harms us in some way, shape, or form. Make sure that we get to them. Make sure that they hear about who and what we are, so that when they do get that call back and they're able to return to work, they will be a completely new and renewed man or woman. Row House asks, Jason and Jared, do you recommend buying takeout from a small business restaurant to help? Maybe getting a gift card, something to help our fellow whites. Well, that's a question or an answer that you're really going to have to arrive at for yourself, because whether they are small or large, the rate of the infection and the possibility of getting infected is going to hold true for wherever you're getting the food. But I would most definitely rather give my money to my white brothers and sisters who are maintaining their own business, and I imagine are much more concerned with the health and welfare of their clientele than some big faceless chain that the billionaire is riding on some $30 million yacht out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, more $100 million, $300 million yachts they even have. You can imagine there's actually a market for that. So that tells you the kind of wealth there is in the world. Yeah, much rather give it to folks like that. So that's a great question. And we have Row House, who is financially gifting $5 to White Wellbeing as well just now, and said, thank you so much for that. Can you guys stream a lot this week and next? Everyone is home and ready to listen. We need an escape from the...
Well, we discussed that. Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll recover soon. Again, I don't have coronavirus. I have a stomach bug. And yeah, depending on schedule and depending on what continues to happen, if things get more severe with lockdowns, then we might, it's like wartime broadcasts. These might become some choice shows that history looks back at, like the ham radio broadcasts during the wars. So yes, we mentioned that. I know Poseidon has told me he's been increasing his activity. We will do whatever we can to keep everyone's emotions and spirits afloat, and to keep learning together, to keep navigating all of this together.
Very well said, brother. I don't know. I mean, you all have the ability to reach out to your circles of influence to let them know that we're streaming, that we are sharing a message that is wholesome, beneficial, self-healing, and healing for our entire community. You know that you look at the numbers on this channel, you know that what we're doing is being absolutely throttled. We're being decapitated by the anti-whites because they know the success that we're having. They know the lives that we're changing. And so it's going to require each one of you to play a small part. And there are some really mighty individuals, I must say, some great stories, and folks out there who are sharing the message. And I salute every single one of you who are. But when we are live like this, or when we're going to be getting ready to go live, please do take the opportunity. It's going to take less than 30 seconds to grab the URL and share it in your networks, so that folks know that this is going on and they can come on over. And we have new people. Just the other day, I saw a handful of new comments. Folks saying, this is my first time, found this channel, can't believe that this channel doesn't have 10 times the amount of subs. Well, yes, we don't have as many subs because we have an effectiveness that is really the cure to anti-whiteism, and in a very, really fundamental way, the cure to things like coronavirus. Because if folks like us were in charge of our countries, if we had the reins of our destiny in our hands, there would be nothing that we wouldn't be able to overcome and prevent from spreading. And something like this, of course, is a great example of how anti-whites, their intended results cause things like this. They're going to cause our loved ones. We know that many elderly will die from this. Most of those are going to be white elderly, but the media is going to talk about the non-whites. They're going to tell you stories. I guarantee it. They're going to be talking about this old black woman here who was not allowed to drink at white water fountains, even though she's too young to have been denied a water fountain for white people. And they're going to talk about how she didn't get a respirator, she didn't get a breather, and was it because of this anti-white slur, this heresy, these white people being evil? Did they somehow, this structural anti-white slur, did it prevent her from her life being saved? And look at her grandbabies now that are not going to have their grandmother around anymore. And this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be fed after we move through the toughest times here. And it's going to just be from start to finish, guilt the white race, shame the white race. And many of our people will fall for it. That's why we have to get to them. We need to use this opportunity. This is really, I know it's going to be, right now, it's really scary for everyone. There's a lot of dread out there because they're pushing dread, but we really do need to see it. Once you have your supplies set, we really need to view this as an opportunity to get out to our friends, family, and strangers and spread going free, spread white well-being while the time is right for doing so. So, Jared, I don't know. Are you ready to go yet?
I think I'm going to bow out.
All right.
Get to bed early. Let the healing rest help. Again, no one worry. If you missed the beginning, I have a stomach bug, something that's going around in my area. I know a couple people with it. No symptoms of coronavirus, and I wanted to be here tonight just so no one worried. So that's why I sound a little under the weather. Just relaxing in bed, on the phone. Not the usual setup, but I wanted to be here with you all. So thank you. And Jason and I will be speaking with each other about how to address this trying time we're all in, and maybe be on the air more, what makes the most sense. We sent out a newsletter you can sign up to on the afterparty.tv to keep directly in touch with us. That was just last night. So if you're on the list and you haven't seen it, please check your spam. And Jason also has a Telegram. I may do that at some point, but we definitely need to make sure that we have places we're connected with each other beyond here on YouTube and on Twitter and places like that. I was thinking, but I wouldn't put anything past them, Jason. But how downright despicable would it be for the staff at Twitter to kill people's accounts right now? Because a lot of people are sharing information with each other about coronavirus, and there's news posted, and that would be. We can't make anything the be all and end all. We have to be robust, of course, but hopefully we don't see much of that. But yes, look out for announcements from us. My site is thegreatorder.com, and of course all the media Jason and I do together, and the community vids, a lot of crossover with the White Art Collective, White People's Quarterly, promoting a lot of musicians. We also have the community vids that we put up for posterity on the afterparty.tv as well. So we will be with all of you soon, and I'm glad I got to do this as I'm just relaxing in bed with you. Kind of brings out a bit of a different feel. Doing a stream, laying in bed with just using the headphones to hear, and have a little mic that's part of the headphones hanging by my mouth, and almost totally laying down, just being on the phone. But it's been fun. It's been fun. I think we provided something, and it was nice to hear about your trip, Jason. I know we'll all be talking soon. But yes, I'm going to go to the land of Nod and get that good healing sleep.
There you go.
And I'll be back soon, and we will continue this adventure together, everybody.
All right, brother. We'll see. I'm gonna speak to a few more of these comments, and then I'll get out myself. So have a good rest.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Talk soon.
Bye-bye, brother.
Bye-bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. We had a raucous drift saying your body fat may be extremely low, but we all have some. That's true. I guess that's earlier tonight. I probably said I don't have any body fat. That was hyperbole, because body fat, I have very low body fat, but yes, absolutely have body fat. Full Moon Ancestry, can you give your opinion on cold showers? I'm still horny, even after them. Does nothing. Oh, wait, you wrote more. Thanks to the Golden One's suggestion, I've been taking them for 18 months and want to know your opinion on the pros and cons of it. I really don't. I've heard about taking cold showers and the cold water in the face and the cold. And some people have great testimonies. They feel like it does a great many things for them. I had it forced on me in some scenarios, and often, and I didn't feel wonderful as a result. I would caution against hot showers because that will dry your skin out, and so just I take comfortably, I guess, warm showers. But thank you for that. I should have read the whole comment first. So let's see. Timmy Bobinson says, if I had the chance to be there, I would have, because I have no white guilt. Amen to that. Well said. Let's see what else we have. Stuart says, Bowden says, good evening from Orlando, traveling back to the UK tomorrow. Gutted. I missed you. Well, next time, brother, I'm going to be back. We're going to get this plague thing under wraps and in control, and I'll be back. Even if I have to, with the new face of advocacy for white well-being might be that image that I tweeted and have posted, and I think it's on my day 2 of countdown to coronavirus or coronavirus free. You can see with the mask and the goggles. That might be the new face of advocacy for white well-being when we go abroad. We're not going to stop advocating for white well-being. We will expand what we do digitally, but we'll continue to travel in one way, shape, or form by whatever means is necessary. Our ancestors have gone through a lot worse, and we are suffering a lot less. So we surely can do this, and we will do this. So I will be back. Now, what else do we see here? Westman's son. That's a great name. That was a nice suit and well worn, Jason. Everyone was looking sharp, and that's important. Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. And we don't have to have expensive things, but we should look our best when we get together in conferences like this. And whatever you're capable of, whatever your finances you're able to put together. We should not have I've heard about this, Tommy having these tennis shoes, or what do you guys call them? Trainers or whatever they are. And how expensive are they? I've heard crazy numbers, but yeah, we never have anything, never waste money. Jared George was talking to that point tonight, that if there was money to lease a private jet to cross the pond, we wouldn't use it for that unless that would be the most efficacious use for the money. And I can't imagine a scenario that where it would be, but we're far from being able to lease a private jet and race across the Atlantic. I mean, maybe if, I don't know, had to be in the UK to stand for election or something of that nature, and I had to get there in minutes and I was going to win, then maybe that would be the most efficacious use for the money. But otherwise, we're going to be in those cramped little seats. And speaking to that, I had I don't know if the guy was a loser or joking around. Somebody wrote under my first video, Countdown to the Coronavirus or Coronavirus Free, said, being a Fed pays well or something, because I flew across the Atlantic and flew back and ate at restaurants. And I wrote back to this loser, if he wasn't joking, if it was an actual loser, that $600 cost split between myself and Mark, $600 airfare there and back, and under $100, we're talking dollars, not pounds, under $100 in total for all of the meals requires having a job. Doesn't require governmental intervention. So we travel as economically, we do the things that we do as economically as we can. It's a la silhouette, as I like to say. I don't know if anybody else says that. I think I maybe have read it somewhere a long time ago in reference to something else, but a la silhouette. We do it as economically as we can because we need to make our dollars go as far as we can make them go. Looks like over here on the gardening channel, we have Coconut is there too, Barn Door, Red Pill Bulgaria is there, Swabia Nadi is there, Andre, hello to you. Ril, Leon is here, hello to you. This was earlier in the conversation tonight, and I'm going to be going soon as well. So if you have questions or comments that you would like to get to me, do so in the next couple of minutes so that I can speak to everything that you have in mind and maybe what we'll be doing next. Maiden DE is here. Great to see you. I'm going to have to write down, so many things took place over the past couple of days. It's been a real whirlwind. I'll have to write down some of the funny stories. Some of you were curious about the police officer as I was streaming live in public for the first time. You all were able to be with me because you were paying attention and you got the alerts. And so there you have that to bragging rights for the rest of your life. And if you didn't hear later on, when I stopped streaming and walked away, I looked over at the police officer and he gave me a little wink. And that was, of course, as far as he could go if he approved of what we were saying. Couldn't say more, but he didn't harass me in any way. He just let me go about my business. Utah Strong is here. Great to see you over there on the gardening channel. Let's see. Now, remember, if you're on the gardening channel and you want me to see what you're writing, tag me as Gardening with NWG. Otherwise, I just have to get lucky and catch your, catch maybe NWG or No White Guilt over here. Like, for example, Donning Armor says here, No White Guilt, St. Patrick's Day, he was said to chase out all the snakes, I believe. Ah, okay. Well. I wish I had been there then. Maybe that's like our Andrew Jackson here in the United States. He got rid of the snakes. I mean, the bankers. He got rid of them too. Let's see. What else do we have? Just moving through the chat here. A White Student Transmission is here. Great to see you. What an exhilarating event this was. God, I wish every single one of you could have been there to experience this, to experience the energy and the enthusiasm, the smiles. When you don't see this sort of thing, and it was for something that wasn't, no one was getting together. And this was another thing that really changed and was a big difference between this conference and so many of the others that I've been to over all of these years. And that is, not a single conversation was about how bad it is. My God, I've gotten so sick of hearing that. Every conference I go to, it's so bad over here. It's so bad over there. Look at the charts of how this group is so bad, and that's why it's so bad in the real world. Just endless, ain't it awful conversations. I'm sick of them. Absolutely sick of these unproductive conversations, and yet so many continue to indulge. I have been pushing against this for year after year after year, saying, let's get active. Let's make things happen for our people. Why are we sitting around? And I tell you, I have been more than once, and this is, again, why, and we'll talk about it on Sunday, why you still don't hear very often many other content producers talking about the success that we are having here. And the reason why is because year after year after year, I have said, I'm known for this. Let's stop this pedantic prattling. Let's stop this goddamn philosophizing. I apologize. It just has become so maddening to me, so infuriating, so frustrating. You're not doing anything. I would say to these groups, we would be either in these conversations in between speeches or right before conference or right after conference, and then invited to the after parties. And I would go and I would say these sorts of things. Why are we here talking about crime stats? What endlessly? Why are we here talking about the another this and another that? Why are we here talking about what Nietzsche said? Who cares? While we are sitting around with these people that are tremendously bright, they are incandescently bright. While they're sitting around showing off how bright they are, the anti-whites are in some little den somewhere talking about plans, about how to take down everything we're doing, to destroy our civilization, to rape our little girls, to teach, as the parents are seeing now, as they're having to take a look at their children's school books because they have to do some of this homeschooling, helping out the teachers, and they're seeing for the first time, my God, every page in this thing is about hating our race. Why don't we do the same? Why don't we get active and focus our incandescence, our intelligence on pushing back against this? And of course, they bristled at that. And now we hear the deafening silence, as even though we save lives, even though we are turning lives around, I had person after person coming up and shaking my hand with a man's handshake, firm as can be, saying everything changed when I started going free. How many lives do we actually have to change before these folks who like to spend time jogging in place, like to spend time in Siamiki, which just means shadow boxing? They're throwing blows at the shadow on the wall instead of actually getting active, instead of doing things that make a difference in folks' life and therefore a difference in the lives of our people, which, of course, as we talk about, reflects then back as a difference for the individual. The deafening silence. So I'm really honored to say that since I asked, what was it, last Sunday, why aren't these people talking about all of our successes? They're still talking about Friedrich Nietzsche. They're still talking about Wallachia. They're still talking about, fine, you can do all of that. And it can be entertaining. It can be educational. It can have value. I learned all of these things. And that was the reason why that once I learned them all, I said, okay, I've learned all this. Now let's actually go out into the world and do something. Preseason is over. You know, in football, whether it was high school or college football, we had, in high school, it was 2 a days, which meant 2 practices a day. University, it was 3 a day, 3 practices in a day prior to season starting. We had a preseason. We had a preseason in baseball. And we worked our asses off. There were other times where, you know, you go through your college for your training, for whatever trade you have or whatever it is, you have your training period, and then you become an adult and you go get to work and you make stuff happen. So I said, I've learned all this now. We had some really deep, profound conversations, and surely there are going to be people who are coming along, pardon me, that are still need to learn. They still are curious, and they get a thrill out of this or whatever. They're going to get value out of it. Yes. So there's value in it for them. There's value in endlessly evaluating the news and the actions of politicians. There's some value in exploring different, perspectives of history, different perspectives of where coronavirus came from. There's value in that. We should be doing these things. And there are a lot of people out there that do them very well. But there is a group of people, all of these apostles here, that are actually changing lives, that are taking people who are on a course to oblivion and turning them 180 degrees. And now they're on their way back to the top of the mountain. And silence. You would think if you could talk about, Kant, you could talk about the people who are changing lives contemporarily. I mean, the folks who are contemporaries who are changing lives, you would think if you could bring up Kant, you could bring them up, right? You would think if you, especially if you're going to talk about the news using the anti-whites verbiage, and for God's sake, how many more times do you need to fail using when you have the tools right here in front of you that succeed? How many more times do you have to fail using those tools? You would think even if you still are adamant, you're still intransigent, you're hidebound, you're just, I'm going to use their language, Jason, and it doesn't matter because I'm only legitimate if I use their language. Fine, use their language. But you think if you're going to talk endlessly about things going on in the world and use their language, that you might want to say something about this group of people here that are a sea change in what's happening in the white positive sphere. something that has never happened before. I mean, you would think that if you have all of the researchers on planet Earth that are researching cures for cancer, and one team somewhere finds a cure for one type of cancer. Everyone else studying cancer, you would expect them to say, my God, this team over there has cured one type of cancer. And they would all talk about it. And that is what should be happening now with the success that we are having. I mean, even if these other spheres inside of the total white positive sphere, even if they think that's not going to be the way to go, we think in the long run, we need to be talking about conspiracy theories and magically attaining power without getting it through the people or getting it through legitimacy or getting it through whatever. You would think that they would say, wow, that group over there has cured that type of cancer. They're having some real success. We haven't cured anything yet, but we'll one-up them. Nothing. So I just want to say to everyone out there who has written me, and I'll read some of these this coming Sunday on Going Free, as long as I'm not horizontal with coronavirus, and maybe still then I will read some of these messages from folks who have written to these content producers, bloggers or vloggers or whatever it might be, and said, hey, I know you're doing your thing, but are you sure that you're ignorant about what's going on with Going Free? How have you not heard about the successes? And if so, what's the reason why you're not mentioning it? Why aren't you telling your colossal audience that, hey, we like to talk about X, Y, or Z over here on this channel and run in place or whatever it might be. But there's this other group out there that's having a lot of more power or success, more power to them. So thank you to all of you who have done that and are doing that, reaching out and asking these folks, why the silence? Why the deafening silence for a community of people who are having great success? So thank you all for that. It's important because clearly there are egos in the way of white well-being, and for many of these folks. And if they're going to remain in the way of white well-being, then we have to push them aside. And what's important is service to the spirit of the West. That is what is important. And any individual is not important. And Jared feels this way. Mark feels this way. We are doing what is best for our people. So everyone else out there that thinks, and I'll tell you right now, if somebody were having half the success, a quarter of success, a tenth of the success that we're having here, we would have them on. We would be talking to them. We would be celebrating them. We would be lauding them for the success they're having for white well-being. This is how I have always been. This is how I always will be, because it's what matters. Because this is eventually going to go into the ground in one shape or another, ashes or pine box or whatever it is. But we are going to continue. And the only thing that matters, and as an individual, if you want to do something that is truly magnificent, it's your deeds, and then you'll be remembered forever. So that is what you have to focus your energies on. Not let me make sure that nobody knows about the cancer that has been cured by that group over there, that group of apostles. We'll just be tight-lipped on it as though we have no idea it's happening. Give me a break. So at some point, once we have enough, momentum or something, then it will behoove us to call out individuals who continue to undermine white well-being by putting their egos in the way of white well-being. So I thank you all. Let me get back to your comments so we can get out of here. And I can get, by the way, this water, this smart water I'm drinking is from the UK. Brought it with me all the way. I can taste. I think if I keep drinking, I'll start having an English accent. We'll see. How would I sound with one? Maybe I should practice one. And we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Let me come over here. I'll take a look at this. Coconut says, I loved all the people I met last time and are still in touch with them. That's wonderful. Yes, make good, deep, binding friendships. We have our Vietnamese friend. Oh, that was from actually quite, or did you put that up again? Or are they scrambling my chat for the fun they get out of it? Roy Danton says, is this the event horizon? Have we reached the end of anti-whiteism? It's not the event horizon, but the event horizon, as we define it, Roy, thank you very much for this question, is when, particularly when, but it could cause the event horizon. It's when the individual groups that compose the anti-white coalition, which seems like a single unit to us, it is nonetheless not. When they stop looking at us, Western kind, as what holds them back from fleecing the population, their personal enrichment, their personal empowerment, and they begin looking at other victim groups that they would call themselves. They begin looking at other non-white groups. They begin looking at the homosexual groups. They begin looking around, and they begin to turn on each other. That is the event horizon. It's impossible to see what happens beyond that because there are a lot of factors at play. What this is, though, and we have talked about this, and this, please share this kind of thing when you go and you talk in these other communities, that we have been talking about the need to grow our community, our numbers, intelligence, connections, liquidity, etc., so that when there are changes, societal changes in the context in which we are vying for our well-being, we are living, when there are these changes, there will be new opportunities. Right now, today, there are new opportunities. There will be new challenges. Right now, there are new challenges. I have specifically said, when I have outlined these things like pandemics, you can look back in these videos, and I guarantee you, somebody can look back and find where I said in a video, and folks who have talked with me before making videos on YouTube, I have specifically said they're going, if we get strong enough, we as a unit serving white well-being can put our shoulders into the societal context and help to shift it so that opportunities will be exposed that we don't know and can't imagine right now. And then we will have the power to take advantage of those opportunities. But there will also be other things. I've said wars. I've said pandemics. I've said economic disasters. I've said meteorites hitting the earth. Lots of things can destabilize. Lots of things can change the societal context. And when that change happens, and I've been saying this all along, we need to be in a position to take advantage of them. Now, are we going to be in a position to take advantage of them by gigglingly like drunken fools at cartoons? Are we going to be in a situation to take advantage of new opportunities by reading everything that Kant ever wrote? No, we're not. And we are not in a position, we are not nearly strong enough to take advantage of opportunities that are just now beginning to expose themselves to us. Remember what we've talked about before, about the 200 level IQ of approaching this challenge to our well-being. And that is, you have people who have very high IQs, very high, and they try to arrive at a solution inside of a context that isn't stagnant. And so any conclusion they arrive at in that moment is going to be in error when in the next moment the context is different. So they are wasting their intel. So all of these people that folks have gone around forever saying, this person is a genius, that person is a genius, they have this, they think that, and the other thing, and they have a plan, whatever. There's no plan for, and this is why I never engaged in these silly conversations about creating ethno-states or this. There's no possibility of it in the context that we're in. Who knows at some point when there might be a context which could provide us something more akin to something of that nature. But talking about something that is impossible in the context that we're in is just to entertain ourselves, to make a fool, to look like the bad guy in the anti-white narrative. So everything that I have said will happen is happening. I said there would be a societal shift. We're seeing in the context, we're seeing a shift in the context. Are we not? A global shift. Now, there are many, I've been talking with some folks about opportunities that are just now coming to light. Many challenges. We can see the challenges that are coming to light. Those are usually easier to see than opportunities. That's why some folks get filthy rich and most stay dirt poor. But we have to have our eyes on the new opportunities that are going to be presented to us. And then we have to move like, as we say here in the States and perhaps elsewhere, greased lightning for those opportunities and get this message out as broadly and widely and deeply as we can. That's what we need to be doing. And yes, it could very well mean, as things change radically, Roy, that the event horizon is approaching faster and faster. We could very well see a new scenario, a new societal context in which non-white groups and other anti-white grievance groups, they begin looking at each other saying the real problem is that other group over there. When that happens, everything changes. And if we're not in the place to take advantage of it, if we're not powerful enough, if we don't have the intelligence, liquidity, etc., then we're going to miss the last chance to recapture our destiny. And that will be the end for Western kind. So we have to be moving now like there is no tomorrow. Let's see what else we have here. Thank you very much for that. I'll get over to entropy in one moment. I see people laughing about some things. I don't know what that was, what they were laughing at. See, Irish Ice says, happy St. Patrick's Day, brother. Marsha asking, did you get her number? Talking, I'm sure about the orbicular woman that was sitting 2 seats over from me, well, at least half a seat away. You know I did. You know I did. There's nothing more just desirable than thinking about lying like a parabola over top of a bloated woman. Oh, that is sick. That is sick. Irish Side says, I can't for the life of me make entropy work on my smartphone. Kofi isn't working either. Be well, brother. Kofi is not working. Is that right? Well, has anybody else had problems with Kofi? Let me know if that's the case. Thank you, Irish Ice, and thank you for all the work that you're doing for White Wellbeing. A great hero. Raymond says, 2 of us have tried Kofi with no luck. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to look into that. We might have been censored off another platform. Alex says, did you see any beautiful white families there? Alex, I saw during one breakfast, 2 families came in to this little breakfast place where we were. I was having this delectable breakfast with the company. And that's really what makes a meal truly magnificent, is good company. And so I had great company and surrounded by good people. And these 2 families came through. Stunning white families. The children looked glorious. They were so beautiful. I wanted to, just like some small part of me said, go in there and have your picture taken with a, just ask, could I have all of the children from both families just like sit around me and have a great big photo? And everybody would be thinking I had like, I don't know, how many children were there total? Maybe like 7 or 8 of them. I don't know. There were a lot. And they were in their pretty little outfits. The little boys were looking sharp and the little girls were in their little dresses. It was marvelous. Their hair had the little bows in them. Really inspiring. And I loved every single minute of it. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Thank you for asking that, Alex. Mr. Hugh says, I have Vietnamese fellow. I'm not going to pronounce that first name anymore. I have an old saying when someone says, I'll be back. I come back with, you'll be black. I'll be white here. That's good. Raucous Drift says, what the heck is that flashing thing? Well, this is my flashing 4-leaf clover for St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. And it's going to help protect me from the coronavirus. Mr. Hughes says, I have oh no, it's the same thing. Or just trying to get my attention leading up to it. Well done. You got my attention. Angharad Celtic. If you want to cancel horniness, Just think about that woman on the plane sitting right next to you. Oh, yes. Oh, forget about thinking about baseball. I'll just think about that lovely whale. And just fat is beautiful. Fat is beautiful. That is the new beauty. When your body spills into the places around you, that is a beauty that it really is hard to put into words. So, yes, I'll just think about her from now on. Edgar Allan Poe says, debate the golden one on the breakfast question. Does he not eat breakfast? My position is eat protein, no carbs, or, if you want to have, like, I had a little bit of orange juice. It was delectable, I must say. Went perfect with that English breakfast. But if you want to have a little bit of orange juice or something, simple carb, go for it. But don't have a lot. And otherwise, protein. It's amazing. I can't say enough about it. But if he does something different, I'm happy to hear his argument. And he appears to be doing well, whatever he's doing. Iron Blood says, I see that you have rested well since the conference. I was modding Keith Wood's live stream today, and Mark seemed energetic too. Oh, that's fantastic. So I guess so Keith Woods had a stream and Mark was on the stream. Is that what happened? Mr. Blood? Great. That's great to hear. I want everybody to have returned from that conference healthy and strong. And actually, I'm not well rested. Actually, I've gotten a little bit of sleep, but not as much as I think tonight I better try, especially since this dry cough has started. And it says on all of the symptoms of coronavirus, dry cough. So I went in after I had started having the dry cough, I looked it up. So I'll keep an eye on it. Roy over here on gardening says, I feel a bit bad because I had a little bit of a private aircraft experience, although it was a passenger plane and I just got lucky. It had to return back home. So, but don't feel bad about that at all, brother. I got, well, maybe I shouldn't say got lucky. I was delighted to find that the seats beside me on the flight back, that the folks didn't show up. I hope they're fine, whoever they are, and that they just couldn't make it to the airport or whatever. But I'm glad they didn't make it, since I had those seats. I didn't want to say that I got lucky with Tundra sitting beside me. I think that was her actual name, Tundra. Obama is Laden says that no one else there any way to help serve White Wellbeing when being in the military. Of course, yes. You can take Go Free, and if your children are home now, it'll be a crime to not use. It's still at $2.99. We haven't reached 399 downloads. We're very close. But I think for perhaps the next maybe a month or so with this whole coronavirus and kids having to be home from school, I'm going to leave it at $2.99 so that parents can download this to their Kindle or their Kindle app. It would be criminal not to use this material with your children. Make it part of the curricula that they study. You can modify everything in this for every single age group, and you can do it for every work environment. So you can do it when you are in the military as well. Help those around you to go free. Remember, say things to those around you, helping them to go free, that you will be fine with being read aloud, a statement being read aloud in front of some anti-white tribunal. So in going free, like I said, was it during the speech, if somebody's going to take offense with you saying that you want to protect white children, well, then you can't back down from that. There's so much in Go Free that is utterly defensible. And so you can take all of that and you can work on yourself, which is the most important thing at first, is recapturing your destiny for yourself, your immediate destiny for yourself, treating those MPs, and then go to those around you and help them to go free. And remember, little bits, little pieces, give them a little piece and then let them digest that. Once you get them to see something, they can't unsee it. So their path then is either going to be, is going to really be determined by their character. Are they going to work toward, even though it is something that is uncomfortable because of what they have been infected with the totality of their lives, work towards something that is healthful, that is beneficial, salubrious? Or are they, because they have poor characters, going to say, well, so what? This is what society wants. This is what will get my ass into a better paying job or whatever. And so I will kill the entire, whatever, in order to get there. If they're that kind of person, then let them go and be happy to let them go so that your time won't be wasted on them anymore. There'll be someone who needs you. Get to that person instead. So only give your time to those who are worthy. Thank you very much for that question. Edgar Allan Poe says he only has coffee and waits until lunch, I heard. Okay, this would be the Golden One's breakfast idea. Timmy says, please stop. It's too erotic thinking about the rolling fat. Oh, my God. Angerad Celtic says, fat is beautiful, well marbled in a steak. Well, yes, it sure is. And perhaps this young lady, perhaps she's on her way to supermodel status. Who knows? I wish her the best. I hope she gets into wonderful shape, because at the current rate, she's definitely going to need 2 seats. Timmy says, I'm trying to put some energy into the short game and also look at the white positive sphere. Very good. Thank you for that. Timmy says, you're a realist. I will concede that. Yes, I'm pragmatic. That's who I am by nature. And that's how I've had success everywhere else, is by being pragmatic, doing real things that speak to and affect the moment with a vision for the long term. Anna says, a very strong speech you gave in London. Thanks for putting it on here. I can't play much on BitChute for some unknown reason. Glad you got here and back before Donald's curfew travel ban. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. And yes, everybody has a problem with BitChute. So it is up here. I think it is on BitChute. It should be. Iron Blood says, I know that the British accent sounds smart, but even their water is smart, with a question mark. I tried to read that with the rise at the end to make it sound like a question. Raucus says, I am obese. Since I got involved in White Wellbeing, I have lost 20 pounds. Congratulations. That is fantastic. We have had a bunch of folks come in who have been way out of shape, a lot of different problems. And they immediately start working on the things that are important, and they do begin trimming down. They do begin getting healthier. That is part of recapturing your destiny. So yeah, congratulations on that. Goodness, greatness says here, you've increased my desire to thrive and achieve well-being. Thank you so much for that. And pass that forward. Please grow yourself and then reach out to those around you and help them to go free as well. God bless you. Thank you for that. This is what I was talking about at the speech, ladies and gentlemen, that the spirit of the West is with us. It's in the folks who are in this community. It answers those who speak to it in truest of voices and who say, I'm ready to sacrifice. I'm ready to excel. That's when the gods will come to your back and put the winds in your sails. Iron Blood said, I like Nietzsche. I've read him and I liked him when I read him as well. But at some point, I mean, how many times for me, it's the same movie. It's the same. I just can't take it anymore. I want to win in the world. I want to win for our people. I would get mad. When I was many years ago, And I would have indulged some conversation. It may have been, an erudite conversation. And then I would go and I would read something from X, Y, or Z. And then I would suddenly think about, how is this helping the little white children who are being abused physically, mentally, and spiritually right now? How is what I'm doing, sitting in this chair with a highlighter, with a pen, and I'm taking notes on, boy, that guy was really smart. And boy, he really has some deep thoughts there. And maybe in an altered universe, boy, this could be the case here. And isn't it fun to think about this alternative universe and how this would be? That's really fascinating. I should mention that next time we talk about this. And then there were times that I threw books down. I would get so mad at myself. I would just like, this is nothing. I've done nothing. I've spent 2 hours reading or so, and I've done nothing whatsoever to protect white children from what we all have had to go through. Those kids are going to be thanking us. They're not going to be thanking the people who were terribly just learned and could show it off at the drop of a hat. Mr. Hughes says, basement dwellers, Jason. And Full Moon Ancestry says, as usual, Jason is right, with maybe about like 15 exclamation points. Thank you. Thank you, Full Moon. Great writer there, and a thinker as well. Great to have you here. Good to see you, brother. All right, let's see. Entropy should be working, though. It appears to be working for others. And I'm going to jump down, and we're going to have a look over there, and we're going to be wrapping up very shortly. So let's see. We're seeing AFP Brisbane is here. Hello to you. I don't think I've seen you or before, so welcome. And welcome to everybody who is new to the service to White Wellbeing, who are going free, watching this live or in replay. I've had a lot of wonderful comments. I had a fabulous time in the UK. I'd like to speak to, yes, Piers says Z is Z. I picked that up from, it just came out of my mouth right now. As you know, I don't think I've ever said that before, but I was with Mark, and I think he said it at least twice. And I have a problem when I used to have to, when I was a child, when the commercials would come on and they would have the little song, the little carol for the commercial, I would have to close my ears, and if I could still hear it, I would hum a little bit, not really loudly, but it would be enough sound to inside my head to stop hearing the commercial, because it would become, what is this called, the proper word for it, an earworm. It would just not go away. It would just keep going and going. And so things get stuck in my head. So he said that, I think twice he said it. In fact, he said it twice, and I know the exact two places we were when he said it. So I had heard it before, of course, but since I was just with him and he said it, it stuck, and it just came out of my mouth right now. Timmy says, success only comes with action. That's right. Precisely. Very well said. Nancy Drew said, dry cough could be allergies, but a fever is always a major sign of virus if combined with cough. Yeah, I'm going to be looking out for the fever. And I've got to tell you, I've got some allergies going on, because right now, Virginia is looking glorious with the pear trees that are blooming. White blooms. It's just magnificent on the highways, but they do cause and have quince that are blooming right now. I imagine their pollen is out. The trees would be worse, though. So beautiful looking, but it can cause some allergies. Angerod Celtic, vitamin C, and ginger and grapefruit seed extract. I'm taking a lot of C. I think I have ginger. I don't know if I have grapefruit seed extract. I'll have to look. Full Moon Ancestry, my grandmother's Akrillian recipe for sore throat is a spoon of garlic, a spoon of raw honey, and a shot of vodka with squeezed lemon. Get well soon, brother. Thank you. I feel fine. I just have the cough every now and again. Popcorn Power says, did you ask Tundra out on a date? Only for the purposes of producing more beautiful babies. Oh, boy. There aren't enough little blue pills on planet Earth to help with that situation. I went out today and everyone had masks and some also had gloves. It was scary and felt like Chernobyl. Guess I need more hand sanitizer, says Mr. Blood. Yeah, it's brutal out there. People are worried. Heidi says garlic. Take some fresh garlic and boil it. Drink it like a tea. Okay, I should. I need somebody or maybe a slew of you to help me out here. I have no time for myself in that sense. I eat well. I stay away from poisons and I work out, but I don't have a lot of time extra for medicines or tinctures. Or Raucous Drift says vitamin D3. I have that and I have been taking that. So thank you for that. So let's see what's going on. Get your final questions or statements together and we're going to be checking out. I think we're just over 2 hours. So it feels about right. Row House. Financially gifting $3 to protect white babies as we do here in service to White Wellbeing. Jason, has your gym closed yet? No, it hasn't, brother. If yes, do you plan on doing some bike rides near the cherry blossoms? Nature is beautiful in DC this time of year. The cherry trees are really something stunning, without question. Interesting bark on the trees too. If you get up close, the feel of them. Beautiful trees though. I don't know. The gym, I don't know if it'll close. Maybe it will. But I was there, had a mask on. The only one with a mask on, but I was there. Bike ride, maybe. Rather, if I'm going to be around the cherry trees, I'd rather stroll than have it be a workout. But maybe so. We'll see. Thank you very much for the gift. Edgar Allan Poe gifting $5. Thank you very much, dear friend. Don't sit around and wait for publicity to fall from the heavens. We will need many prepared apostles in place when it comes. Precisely. Very well stated. It's not going to be enough for it to just be those of us that are doing what we are doing. We need to be getting this message out to the folks so that there are just too many voices as they begin looking elsewhere. They want a country where they don't have to worry about regular diseases that scar their lungs and kill their elderly. So they'll be looking, and we need to be there. And when we can, and where we can, get to them with this salvation, this redemption. Irish Ice gifting $3. Thank you, good friend. Non-whites can only appear to be intelligent, creative, and imaginative by impersonating whites. So if white erasure really accelerates, how will the USA remain the top superpower? Love your green, Jason. Well, thank you for that. Now, and in fact, I'm stuck with it. It's in my eyes, so there's no getting away from it. The green is in my eyes, my friend. But that is exactly what's happening. The wheels are falling off the country. That is why things are not handled as well. The one benefit to that is that the FBI and all of these different alphabet soup agencies that are charged with wiping us out in a way that society will find acceptable. By society, I mean our brothers and sisters out there. They also have suffered from anti-whiteism. They've been dumbed down. They have people hired simply for their ethnicity, their race, and in some cases, just because it's a fellow anti-white. So it could be a white anti-white. Come on board. Doesn't matter how dumb you are. There could be, and there are, I mean, we can look at the actual data. There are plenty of bright non-white people. There are plenty of non-white people to the right of their average bell curve. But these people, they are lost in the mix of all of their folks who get the step up, the hand out, just because it serves the anti-white narrative and the anti-white agenda to inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. So the USA will not be able to remain a top superpower if it continues on this course. And there are a lot of people who are myopic who say, well, that'll be a good thing. That won't be a good thing. It won't be a good thing for this country to permanently, and all of its technological secrets, things that you can't even fathom, to fall into the hands of dumber and dumber anti-whites, people who have less and less of a concern for the future, uncountable number of nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons, all of this falling into the hands of these people. It would not be a good thing. So it's good that those who want to erase us, white erase us, are getting less talented, but it won't be good if we don't recapture our destiny. Let's see, did I get this one, Row House, earlier? Yes, I did, about the streaming often. I would definitely do more streams, but I also have to ask myself, more than I'm doing now, but I also have to ask myself, where is my time for white well-being? Where is the greatest value going to be put? And, you know, there are many things that I have to do here. Like I've got to finish up the standalone version of Prometheus Rising for you all so that I can get to work on the artist edition of standalone Prometheus Rising for you all. This stuff needs to be available. If coronavirus or the next one takes me out, this has to be there so that it lives on and continues to help our people. So there'll be many more champions that will be able to step forward. If I can stream, and by streaming 5 days a week or 7 days a week, we see the numbers of views going, instead of it being, you know, 2,500 to 4,000 views, we see it go up to 25,000, and we see it go up to 50,000, like some of these other content creators who refuse to acknowledge us and the good work that we're doing, the changes we're making in people's lives. If we saw that happening, then I would say, wow, the best use of my time for white well-being right now would be to continue to feed this rapid growth in the viewership. So it will just depend on where we're seeing results. Once again, the pragmatism. All right, let's see over here on the question widget, and I'll check the other platforms for gifting, and then we're going to check out of here. So Popcorn Power says, can you, for the next stream, think of ways to specifically utilize the pandemic to make progress? Offshore China production of meds is being cut off. Number two, illegal immigration on the southern border. Yeah, absolutely. We need to be talking about that, and that could be issues that we address. We should not be producing any of our medicine abroad. What kind of government would do that to its population? It's one thing to say that we have a factory that produces medicine that can make this type of antibiotic, but is busy making these other type of antibiotics. So we're going to allow a factory outside of the Western world to make those antibiotics for us. But if they decide they want to turn it off, this factory can immediately pick it right up and make that antibiotic. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing to allow these companies to go to these foreign nations where they have these slave labor and it literally be able to turn off the lives of our people by saying, oh, no more meds for you. There's no way to get these meds online and to everybody that needs them. And who are they going to go to first? You know they're going to go to the non-white population first, because no one in positions of power are going to want to be slurred with anti-white slurs. They will go forward and they will say, we will make sure it goes to the whatever, fill in the blank, the oppressed group, the exploited groups, whatever. And it'll be our people dying because they don't get their heart meds, because they don't get their kidney meds, because they don't get all of these different types of meds that people rely on to be alive today. So we should be talking about these things. And again, yes, with the southern border, perfect example of why we need to shut down the southern border with Mexico, because if it's not coronavirus 1 today, it's going to be coronavirus 2, or it's going to be something else that is going to creep out of By the way, you all can look this up, and we can talk about these things when you're talking about anti-whiteism. You can look up where the majority of these world plagues come from, and they're not coming from places in large part here from places other than Asia in general. No particular group of people, no particular country in general. No, but you can look up for yourself, do the research for yourself, because you know that we don't know anything here. People at YouTube know. And apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but a lot of folks aren't coming in to work at YouTube. So they're relying increasingly on artificial intelligence. So I'm going to say right now that everything we're saying here is just for entertainment purposes. None of it's true. And I'm telling all of the listeners here to go and look for yourselves as to where these viruses come from. And then you can go to these conversations armed with the knowledge that anti-whiteism harms us for numerous ways. And one of the ways, by the way that is terrifying you right now, terrorizing you every day, you turn on the TV or the radio or open a magazine, is with these plagues, these silent, invisible killers. Do you really want to continue to have a world and a government where our doors are not only open, but there's a giant sucking sound as the West sucks these things in from the sewers of planet Earth? Do you really want to continue in a world like that? Or would you like to be able to go about your day without having to worry about sanitizing your hands every 5 minutes so that your lungs aren't eaten out of your chest by your immune system? Talk about that. Rowhouse. Okay, saw that one from earlier. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, we have the Iron Blood saying, mix garlic, honey, ginger, mint, and vodka. Drink it. And if you survive, you'll be healed. Thank you. That sounds like a good bit of doctor's advice. Thanks, friend. I don't have any alcohol. I don't have any. In fact, I was told, folks were telling me, go out and buy grain so you can sanitize. All of that's gone. I did use quite a bit of the hand sanitizer at the gym, though. All right, let's see here. We got that. Let me cross out some of these we've gotten to. Pete says, have you heard of the new white shaming show MTV is about to premiere? It's called White Supremacy Ruined. This is ridiculous, folks. My life. I just saw the trailer and it looks horrific. I'll have to look that up. I have not heard of it. And good. That is good. The anti-whites need to produce more of this garbage, and we need to be able to move against it with the arguments, the lexicon and dialectics we have here. Thank you so much for letting me know about this absolutely asinine poison, this noxious poison, that bit of a redundancy there, that MTV is pushing. And what a surprise that MTV would push something like this. Jason, Trudeau and now Trump have agreed to close down their borders. Is this just a glitch in the globalist system? Well, I prefer the anti-white elite system, but the anti-white elites, or the anti-white system, or something to build off of. 9/11 didn't do it. Maybe this will. What's great about this, Rowhouse, is that, and we can maybe talk about this on Sunday too, because running out of time, I've got to get to work. But when times get harsh, when times get bad, when times get challenging, healthy instincts come back to the surface. A lot of these little silly things that we allow ourselves to be motivated by or intimidated by, a lot of very silly things like people's feelings when people's lives are at stake, these things that normally get in the way. You're still going to hear, but you'll hear it less and less as the disease continues to ravage the countryside and kill people. You'll still hear women of both sexes saying that, well, no, we have to not say this or have to not say that because somebody's feelings will be hurt. But as more people die, as things continue to push our faces, as events push our faces into reality increasingly, it will become increasingly difficult for such people to say such things, and fewer will listen to them. So healthy instincts return when times get tough. And this is a societal context shift that I talk about. This is what we have to be there to take advantage of for the well-being of our people. As they get more realistic with survival, we have to be there to provide them with the truth, with going free, so that if the anti-whites are able to stabilize things again, and all of the little girls of both sexes can come out and say, well, you have to worry about their feelings. Whatever you do, don't say it came from China, because it might hurt a Chinese person's feelings, as though the Chinese person that lives on your street or whatever is somehow responsible for the virus when you say that it came from the country it originated in. Preposterous. But as things get worse, it makes it easier to reach people. So yes, thank you for saying and bringing that up. It is engendering a healthier instinct, and we need to make use of that. People's visions are turning away from the fantasy back to reality. Viruses, invisible killers have a way of doing that for folks. So let's make sure we save them while they can be saved. Mr. Redbeard says, why do you discredit Tommy Robinson? He didn't play the part of the protagonist you speak of, antagonist, the bad guy. Didn't use the old symbols, didn't wear the uniforms, didn't wave the flags, doesn't have the tattoos. Well, there's a long conversation there, brother, and you did nothing wrong by supporting and endorsing those positive elements that you saw in him. Now, there are other things that I'm sure, if you're supporting these positive things that you saw in him, the positive actions that you saw in him, there are other things that if you are of this mind, you would find objectionable. And so I'm not the one that makes this case. There are others who make this case adroitly, and I would encourage you to track down their material. Of course, we have Dion of Secret Sources has done a lot of research. Mark Collett has done a lot of research, and simple things like raising money for things like this bus that they raised money for, and this ended up being a scam, I'm told. And the movie that they raised money for, that they said was for going to be a movie about our little girls being militaristically gang raped in our lands, and then he ends up being a movie called Shalom. This is another people's interests. Then his attire has improved tremendously as the investments in him have gone up. A lot of things that are going on. He of course said that those in the United States, and this was my first grievance with him, those in the United States who were objecting to our statues being white erased from our land, our history being white erased, that those folks were neo-Nazis, and he would have been out there fighting us. So these are things that are beyond the pale. So the folks who ended up following Tommy for the good reasons that they followed him, they're all good people. And I think now's the time. Many of them, I know, many of them are now seeing some things there that are not becoming, that in fact are quite despicable. And they are, since they're good people, good in heart, they're turning away and they're looking elsewhere. And one of the people where they are putting their loyalties in now is Mark Collett. And I think that is a sound place to put your faith and loyalty. If Tommy continues down this path of doing these sensational things for the purpose of sensation and all of this, sacrificing for things other than the well-being of our people. And this is one of the biggest problems, Mr. Redbeard, is it's a civ-nat position. So it's an abstractionist position. And that just won't save our people. It will not work in the end. So perhaps he can be redeemed. Perhaps he'll see the light. But nobody who followed him, nobody who listened to Tommy and became a follower of his is a bad person or has gone wrong or whatever. You all followed him and put faith in him because you saw the embodiment of that person and his actions, the welfare of our people. And now many are saying that indeed it's not there and they're turning away. So thank you for the question, though. Popcorn Power, let's see. yes, it looks like that one was a duplicate of the one earlier. Not saying it's your fault, but perhaps it just showed up here twice on entropy. Popcorn Power also says maybe we don't need complete conversion. Perhaps it is excellent to convince potential allies that a single anti-white idea is bad and invite them to fight against it. Exactly. That's it. Give them something. And right now, that's something for most of our people is going to be this invisible killers that eat the lungs out of you, going to kill the old. Maybe you'll get lucky enough to not get it. And if you get it, to get through it, okay. But yes, let that land on them. Tell them that it's the fault of anti-whiteism. It's the fault of the anti-whites in government. This is a consequence of anti-white objectives instantiated, realized in our world. And this will not get better. It will only get worse until we replace these people. By the way, have you heard of Go Free? There's this book that will teach you all about it and will empower you. And then let them go with that. Move on to the next one. And let's see here. I think that's everybody from over here. Thank you all for the questions and comments and all of the gifts over here on entropy. And I'm going to move over and check to see a most happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you, especially our Irish brothers and sisters. I think I said, yeah, I think we're at 2 hours and 30 minutes. So we'll get out, mods. Thank you so much for your work. Jay Easom is here. Jason predicted the plague in September on a Going Free show. Well, thank you for mentioning that. Thank you very much. I was noting that actually a little earlier. Thank you to all of the mods, Roy, Ray. Did we have anybody else here that was modding? Did Heidi mod at all? A thank you to her anyhow if she did or if she didn't. And thank you. I know this is a long time for the mods to have to moderate a chat. Mr. Drift says, white vinegar is an antiseptic. There is still lots of it around. Look into it. That's right. It is. Great point. I will absolutely do that. In fact, I have some of that here. Maybe I'll just start bathing in it to get rid of the corona. Simon says, many of another group of people have asked Amazon not to make a second series of Hunters due to the massive backlash. Wow, is that right? Magnificent. Magnificent. That says so much about the change, the real sea change that's taking place. Thank you for sharing that information. Well. Yes, and then there's this movie out as well. I don't think many people are going to be going to see it. It's something else, something with the name Hunter in it as well, where it's just like that series. They are hunting down white people who are heretical. Remember, talk about it this way. Shauna is here. Great to see you, Shauna. Talk about it this way, that we are the heretics of the anti-white ideology, because built into that is the premise that wins the argument for you. I make this as easy as possible so that everybody can do it. You don't have to put a lot of thought into it. We are the heretics. You've won the argument. You don't even have to understand how. You just follow that thought chain and you will win time and again, and come back and share those successes and challenges with us, and we'll help get you back on track if you've had any issues with it. And help us if you find something else that works fabulously. Let us know what it is, and we will adopt it. Nancy Drew, John Kelly, retired FBI profiler, had a video about China stealing our technology and blaming U.S. military for starting COVID in China. He said we have to wake up and deal with enemies. Very, very good. Remember, though, when we talk about China, always, ladies and gentlemen, always use the word anti-white. China is not a problem because, not only a problem, or not primarily a problem because they're communists. Who cares if a bunch of Chinese people on the other side of the world want to live that way, want to live under that tyranny, want to call themselves communists, want to celebrate the mass murder of 70 million people who just wouldn't think the right thoughts in that country. If they want to do that and that's their destiny, fine, we will protect ourselves. What really matters to us about China is that they're anti-white. And again, everything is built into this that you need to be able to win those conversations. If you go down the road and you're going to begin seeing it from people who are dumb all the way to people who are controlled ops, who are saying, operatives, who are saying it's communism. These are commies. Don't ever use that garbage. Don't ever use that. They're anti-whites. You're going to end up, they want you to go down that road because that is a road they can beat you on in argumentation. That is a road they can pivot you into a corner morally and ethically time and again. This based non-white person, he might hate white people, but at least he's not a communist. At least he's not a commie. At least he's not a red. Don't go down that path. It's stupid. And I will continue to say it. Let's all, as apostles of white well-being, continue to say this so that, and come back to me and let us all know what content producers are going down this stupid path. We might have to call them out by name. I mean, things are getting very serious around the world, and I am not going to let our children suffer because some egomaniacal twit wants to fan himself with your attention and language that he knows will appeal because the regime is using it. Thank you very much, Nancy. Reptile is here. I don't know if I mentioned you earlier. A good time to work on moving over to another platform as you have a captive audience. Well, yes. Popcorn says NWG already streams a hell of a lot. Yeah, but thank you for that. Nancy says your speech was moving. Bravo. Thank you so much. Yep, it's up on the channel. Check it out, folks. If you haven't had the chance, it was a great time. And then you can go over to Radio Albion. Sven, big kudos to him. Did a magnificent job. Simon here saying my speech was magnificent. Sven did a great job with all of the electronics and software. It sounds beautiful. Everybody gave a great speech. You can hear all of their speeches over on Radio Albion. Okay. Mr. Drift says, stroll among the cherry trees with a beautiful white woman. Well. We'll see. Maybe I'll go out there with nothing on my arm and come back with maybe one on each side. Who knows? Since this is slowly progressing into a going free, let's make the Eagles fly again. No, this is after hours. We are checking out. And let me just check the other platform really quickly. Let's see. Okay. And Ko-fi. Let's see. Yep. Nothing's up on Ko-fi. I have nothing from them, so I'm going to have to look into that and see what the issue is. And let's see about Cash App. If that is... Okay. It is... Cash App is not blank, but I have to do something quickly to be able to see one of the gifts that we received. All right. I should be able to see. We have, this is probably somebody's real name. I will say, I'll just say your first name because this is from Dustin. Thank you so very much, dear brother, who is gifting $5 over here on Cash App and saying everything that needs to be said about his desire to protect our people and our children with that gift. Thank you. And we also have another first name only, Michael, saying everything that he wants to say with an $11 gift. So thank you very much for that, Michael, as well, the two of you. Appears that Cash App is working, and we will look into Ko-fi because maybe we have another censored once again. What a surprise. But it has been wonderful. Quick check over on Entropy. Redbeard says, Tommy did time for his beliefs. That means more than some books. I'm afraid I completely disagree. If you stand up for, I don't care how long you spend in jail for stupidity and standing up for the well-being of another group of people, standing up for abstractionist ideas that are not going to benefit our people. There are plenty of people. I mean, Mr. Redbeard, how is that an argument? There are plenty of people who stand up for a lot of different things that are not good for our people and go to jail for them. They don't gain credibility by going to jail for them, period. How does that even remotely make sense? He advances ideas that are deleterious for our people if adopted. For example, I made a video about, he was talking about, this is one of the oldest videos, I believe it's still up. And he's standing in front of a primary school in the UK, and he's talking about how the government in the UK had housed at the cost of the public a individual that he was referring to as a terrorist from a foreign land in a home right down the street from the primary school. And I asked the viewers in that video if they saw what Tommy was absolutely blinded to. And then I told everybody, on the picture on the wall protecting the primary school was an illustration of anti-whiteism. So the reason why the guy is housed right down the street from the primary school is because the enemy is already behind the wall at that school. And Tommy is not going to name them. He's going to talk about Arabs all day long, because there's another group out there with a lot of power, small group, a lot of power, that don't like these folks so much. And they like Tommy speaking out against Arabs. But Tommy's not going to say anything about the poison that's already behind the wall, that is creating the lives of folks that will serve the interests of other peoples at our expense. So the enemy is already behind the gates. It makes no sense to stand out front and say, let's talk about this symptom down the street. And then, by the way, even though I know that the government will dilate the law to jail us, I'm going to go push the limits of it and then get myself thrown in jail stupidly. Even though, I'm going to do that, suddenly, the ideas are made somehow sacrosanct. Give me a break. The enemy is already behind the gates. We need to be treating anti-whiteism. If we protect the white babies in that primary school, you will rear a group of heroes who will do the right thing, vote for the right thing. There won't be an animal at the end of the street, a murderer who is placed within a stone's throw of our children. So give me a break. He went to jail, and that's more legitimate than books. Mr. Redbeard here says, ladies and gentlemen, that Tommy went to jail for videotaping the rape gangs that were convicted of crimes. The rape gangs you speak of many times on your streams. First of all, they are, and I go further than just a rape gang. This is a militaristic endeavor and of the raping of our women. And what he did was, and perhaps this is a lack of intelligence, I don't know, but what he did was he jeopardized the conviction of those people by showing up someplace where he was specifically told not to show up and saying, I'm 2 inches this side of where you said not to go. Give me a break. Are you 7 years old? There could have been a mistrial, and all of those little girls that had been militaristically gang raped by those animals would have gone free because he showed up to get attention for himself. That's despicable. He could have very well covered the trial from down the street, nowhere near where these people were. But what he wanted was to get on the television, to get himself in the video footage. And he's done this again and again. That's how we know what he was motivated by. And I will tell you all this. The anti-whites, it doesn't matter where the law ends. They will dilate it to get you. Everyone knows that who is in the white positive sphere. So I encourage you, Mr. Redbeard. I thank you for your respectful disagreement. And I encourage you to reflect upon the arguments that I made and see if they don't make sense to you. And again, I thank you very much for your respectful disagreement. And I will always engage folks who have a respectful disagreement. So thank you for that. But reevaluate what Tommy is doing, because he very well could have ended up, and I don't know, perhaps folks in the UK could speak to what happened with those trials. But if you interfere with a trial in the United States, you could end up botching the thing, and these monsters could end up going free. That is the travesty of justice. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being here for this After Hours. It's been glorious. We're going to be back again. I am going to be back tomorrow with Mark Collett. We're going to be on PWR. It's going to be beautiful. And then, of course, we'll have TAP and a Going Free on this Sunday. If you all have anything that you want to ask me about or investigate, please reach out to me and I will answer you to the best of my ability. We've just arrived back in the States. As you know, I flew right into here after getting off of the airplane and started streaming. So still trying to catch a lot of things up and cancel flights that were made. So a lot going on, but we will get back with you as soon as I possibly can. I love you all. Stay safe, spread Going Free, and I will see you tomorrow on PWR.